Is everything working? Hang on a second. Something weird is happening. I think. All right, hold on. Let's do that. There we go. All right. So hi everybody. Hey Kevin. Hey Sinstella. Today's gonna be a game design day. We have some stuff to figure out before launch, and we just launched a new version of the demo and the playtest version yesterday. I also found out that Valve for playtesting has a review of your store page and then a review of your game build for some reason. And I don't really know what this is. Like, we have a demo already. We're not fully launching yet. Maybe there's a concern that we'd be fully launching. Anyway, I'm not sure. I'm maybe it's if you plan on having the playtest be public, maybe that's why it matters. Anyway, whatever. We're waiting for that, and as a result, none of the playtesters have been able to try anything yet. I think it's going to result in a wave of feedback, though, that's going to be very hard to process. I myself have already felt like I've been stretched pretty thin, just in sort of community management stuff. And as an example here, there are now some discussion posts here, and I've been trying to respond to as many as I can, or at least ones that I think are worth responding to or asking questions about. So I need to monitor this. I've also been looking at YouTube videos and seeing what pops up. Like, should I be tracking who's who, and should I follow up with any of these people? If we look at upload date here. So just in the last day, this person streamed it, and this person did too. Well, I say stream. I don't know if they streamed it. They made videos. And combined, they got about 3,000 views. Like, that's pretty good. So I watched the videos. I wanted to see what are they saying or what were their pain points or anything. And yeah, I don't think there's anything new that I haven't seen yet. No, that's it. I think I've seen every other video. But yeah, so this is taking time. And then the playtest stuff yesterday, I had to make some changes to that release tool that I'd been working on. This now works. So I use this to publish both versions. But originally I was getting a problem. I posted on Discord about it. It just said something like failure. Didn't say what failed. And I had no idea how to figure out anything more. So I poked around a whole lot and eventually found out what was going on with that. So again, like, there's just a lot of things going on. And now, like I said, today is going to be probably game design for the sake of figuring out what we're going to do for this month so that we can try to launch on time. So I'm going to be running around like crazy for the next few months. But yeah, hey Becca, hey Soli. What do they say? They generally enjoy it. Yeah, the guy with the more views there, I guess, is Argentinian, so he was speaking Spanish the whole time, and I could only read the translated captions. So I don't know for sure exactly the sort of wording, but toward the end, it looked like he said something like, yeah, this game's really good. I'm looking forward to the release. Yeah, he seemed like he was having fun. The first guy was speaking English. He was he seemed to enjoy it. I don't, yeah, he wasn't super effusive. Okay, so then the other thing that I found out, so there's a subreddit /r/play-my-game. You can't just post here. Or, well, let me put it this way. You're not supposed to just post there. If I go to that subreddit /r/play-my-game, the rules on the right side say your game must be playable for free. And then rule number 2, you must contribute to 3 to 5 other games. So don't just post your game and ask for feedback. If a subreddit has rules, I'm going to try to follow it. But even in just trying to find games to review, I found several that broke the rules. One just posted a Steam link. It wasn't even freely playable. Like, they clearly just thought, oh, I'll just post here. Other people aren't necessarily doing this. There are people who didn't include a description of the game. So I did not enjoy that experience. If everyone followed the rules, at least you'd know that, like, oh, well, they're valid games you're playing. But one of the games I tried was this, like, I don't know, probably just AI created. What does it mean by contribute to 3 to 5 games? So the subreddit is called Play My Game. It's not just have other people play your game. It's then play their 3 to 5 games. So find 3 or 5 other posts and then leave some feedback. Hey, this game was fun. I really like this part of it. Or, oh, the graphics aren't super crisp here, or something like that. So yeah, a lot of people just don't read the rules. And in general on Reddit, it behooves you to just not read the rules. Really, like, the amount of time I probably spent an hour yesterday playing games, finding the posts, whatever else, maybe even longer than that, maybe like an hour and a half. And imagine if I just posted anyway. I'd probably have my post up for a day or so before a moderator finally removes it. And that day, maybe I got all the views I was going to get anyway. So this is why I've just never liked Reddit for these reasons. I feel like, yeah, I feel like you should just, I'm not espousing this belief, but I feel like it behooves someone to violate all the rules that they can, just post new accounts, manipulate upvotes, etc. That's the best way to succeed on Reddit. And then when you finally get caught, it's like, well, just move on to other accounts or something. The only time you can't do that is when your identity is linked to those. So imagine if you were a stand-up comedian. If other people start posting about this stand-up comedian, it's going to be pretty obvious it's probably you. And you can't hide your identity because that's the part of being a stand-up comedian. Is it me or is everyone using the word effusive now? Are you getting Bader Meinhof? Whoa, hey Nordic Destiny, that was super loud. Welcome in. Thanks for the raid. What were you streaming? How do I, let me see. Click about. Okay, it looks like dev stuff. No, wait, maybe it's not dev stuff. RPG Maker. Ah, got it. Cool. By the way, not that you asked for feedback and I'm just unsolicitedly providing it, but you should probably put something in here about your dev stuff so it's clear to people. But yeah, what kind of game are you making? Let me just bring this over here. I haven't, let me finish typing this out. You know what those look like first. Okay, so this is probably fine. What else? Yeah, so I have not been hearing more people use the word effusive. The UI of what is bad? Of Reddit or of the games? You always break the rules and go, oops, you didn't see that. Yeah, so Luna, this is the expression better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And I've always tried to follow the better to ask for permission just from an ethical perspective. And like I said, I want to follow the rules, but I recognize how much it helps you to just not follow them. And I don't like when the incentive structure is such that you don't follow something and you excel or succeed. Yeah, rule is strictly 3 to 5. That's right. Twitch showed ads when clicked on your feed. I thought subs won't see ads. You're not a subscriber though. You're a follower, but followers still see ads. Hey Matt, 6 minutes playing a game, top quality review. Yeah, I played one of the games for like 30 minutes, I think, and another game for probably like 15, and another game for actually 0 because it wasn't playable as far as I know. JRPG rank. I don't know what that means. I know what a JRPG is, but I don't know what the rank means here. Okay, Googling is not helping me. I'm guessing you're making a JRPG though. But that's pretty cool. How do you like RPG Maker? Because I've never tried it. And actually, you know what? I kind of wonder what's like the most popular RPG Maker games. I wonder if I've heard of these. Because I don't tend to play a lot of JRPGs myself. Okay, I haven't heard of this, but let's just scroll down to number 1. To the Moon. Okay, I've heard of One Shot. I did not like One Shot. Omori, The Painful. This looks pretty good. Yeah, I haven't heard of any of these other games. Pokemon. Not making any money off of that game. No, but anyway, welcome in. We are working on a game called Skeleseller, and today is going to be mostly game design stuff. So this game is playable as a demo right now on Steam. It's an idle light town builder sort of game. You send adventurers into battle, you collect the loot that they find, you sell it, you use the money to build up your town. And it's been in development for about 14, 15 months. I want to launch later this year. And in order to launch, we need to figure out what's going to be different between the demo and the launch version. So it's going to be a lot of game design today. Hey, Bird Punch. So I have a document somewhere. Yeah, the reusing locations thing, this. Man. Before I kind of carry on with this stuff, I want to write another random thought here. I already concluded a while ago that at some point in basically any game, You need to be happy with the systems and mechanics presented. Well, you as a player. You can't have an infinite amount of unique stuff. I think it's pretty good for people new to game dev to let them work on games without the big coding learning curve or needing to create all assets from scratch. Just learn how games are structured. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think when you're learning something that ideally you're learning just that thing to make it easier for yourself. And game dev as a whole has just so many areas. Even if you just boil them down to art, music, coding, each of these is so deep and so broad that you could spend 10 years on each one and just feel like, okay, I kind of understand what I'm doing. So like, are you going to spend whatever 20 years trying to master every part of game dev? Probably not. Some people try to, but in general, that's where I think scoping it down is really helpful. And that's why I think that 20 games challenge is really, really good. The whole just make games. Yeah. Make these games. Don't worry about the game design or anything. It's already been done for you. And don't worry about the assets typically too. In fact, I wonder, I probably talked about this, but I wonder what they do about the assets for these. Do they like share where they are or anything? No. They might have something like that on a page somewhere. All right, so part of the reason I wrote this down is we might not need to do anything extra. Man. All right, let me turn this off. I'm going to be all over the place until we finally get settled into a rhythm here. But yeah, my main concern is that people played the demo and liked it because of the pace of introducing new things, having them be fun, and then having them fall into the background. We can only do that so much. A month of design and dev probably equates to another like 20 minutes of that in the game. So yeah, if I had another year that I wanted to work on this, I had whatever 3-4 hours into the game, I guess that would be good. But yeah, we got to stop somewhere. So what I was talking about with like monster collection and rare items would basically be other inputs into the replayability formula. And we'd be stopping there. Ideally, these systems wouldn't involve too much coding to do, too much coding or artwork. Have you ever thought to do a week of PoE streams? Hey, Pies, we were talking about you yesterday because of the game you were playing. Also, coincidentally, I responded to someone on Reddit whose name there is your name, but with an awe in it. Pawaj. But no, I don't plan on playing PoE. Hey, Boomer. Monster collection and rare items would basically be other inputs to the replayability formula. Yeah, so I don't know what these would even look like. My arch nemesis. Pawaj. Like a Lord of the Rings type of thing. Aragorn, son of Arathorn, son of Pi, son of Pawaj. I wonder how we come to the conclusion that it's even worth adding these things. I guess it's worth scoping them out and then figuring out how much they would cost. It's probably worth designing them and then figuring out what they would cost and then weighing that against the roadmap. Yeah. All right. Well, what do we start with problems wise? We started with just reusing locations, and I think I came up with something that I liked pretty well. Yeah, and in fact, I think we already had that all written down. The main motivator for wanting to reuse locations is the size of the battle map. Don't want to get too big. Like progressing deeper into each region. Choice of locations can still be linear. We just don't gain much by allowing the player to choose any location on the map. Once a location is no longer accessible, we just stop you from needing or seeing those items. At some point, you'll be finished with the forest. So finding small blue potions, customers won't desire them. Quests will automatically have their progress filled out for those items. Or transferred to something else. Build out for those items or transferred to needing other items. Maybe one of a more valuable item. Bosses should show up on the map to make it clear you can battle them. When repeating the map, we don't need to vary location. By the way, once we do this, we're going to have a big difference between the demo and the final version, I think. May need to think about how this impacts the demo versus the final version. The demo may not use the full map. I heard you fired my boy. What have you heard? Let me ask you that way. I have not fired Kevin. When repeating the map, we don't need to vary locations by monster. Hey, Checkinator, welcome in. We don't need to vary locations by monster or monster ability. Bosses will still achieve that goal. Do need to vary the gameplay a bit so it doesn't feel stale. So yeah, this is my conclusion. And I think it could feel stale then. So the players who've been playing up until the Inferno right now will typically have maxed almost everything in the game. They'll have all of their adventurers. They'll have all of the perks. There won't be anything else to spend money on. Yeah. I wonder if we need to slow the pace down at this point. Man, I'm so confused. Great keyboard. How much and where? Yeah, check out that command that Kevin linked in. It's got all the info in that video and the video that is linked from this video. I talked about my bill of materials. I've got another video in there. Yeah. Adam was threatened. I was streaming now, so he fired me. Okay, that was true. I was feeling threatened. Yeah. But it didn't result in firing. It resulted in total manipulation. Kevin quit on his own accord. No, for anyone who's not in on this, Kevin is still working on Skeleseller, at least for now. And he's still in the credits, and he's done a great job. There's no gripes, no qualms. And we can show another cutscene. Okay, so I'm happy with all these conclusions, except that I want to drill more into this one. Yeah, back to the original premise of this. I had this written down. Also, you might as well just write what the data is here. I had this written down. I do think we need to change something. I want to think about what it would be like if we didn't add any new systems, though. How would we add them later? And what would it do for the gameplay to not have those systems? We would probably need to slow down progression. Probably need to add at least a couple of perks. So you would get to the Inferno and have 7 adventurers, all of the buildings, almost every perk, and then nothing else. But and then the only new things that happen in the next like 2 hours of playing would be more bosses / content. No, actually that's not true. More adventurers and more locations / bosses. This just doesn't sound compelling. The rare item route is probably the least we should do on this front, since it's easy to code. Yeah. Take away all his points. Ever since Paj found out about points and started earning them, he's been going crazy. Look at this. Paj, rank 12, tied with a bunch of other people. Actually, not a bunch of other people, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. 7 people have 4 points. So you're doing better than all these people. With their measly 1 point. Hey, Karada. Happy game design. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Okay, this is actually pretty interesting. I think rare items are probably more important than the monster collection thing. So could we add monster collection later? Yes. Yeah, it shouldn't really change a whole lot. Too busy just lurking till I have something funny to say to be helpful lately. No, that's fine. This is mostly a joke. I don't necessarily expect help from chat, but if I get it, I try to reward it with those points. I think you used to be able to give your points to other people, but then I wanted it to actually be kind of a measure of like how helpful I found someone and not how helpful other people found someone. Because it's not necessarily helpfulness, right? Sometimes people just tell a funny joke and they're like, here's a point. So could we add monster collection later? Yes. Okay, so then I am leaning toward we need to at least figure out the rare item stuff. And I don't think I have much on that yet. We could always add monster raising later. Rare items fit much more with the overall Skeleseller theme. So better than me. So I would say pretty much all kinds of chatters are welcome. The kind that I like the least are the ones who spew a bunch of like totally unrelated nonsense into chat. That's not like funny, has no value. Every once in a while, yeah, someone comes in here. Okay, every once in a while, I'm not going to stay on this train of thought for long, but every once in a while, someone comes in here who should be saying their stuff in their own stream. Like I've had people come in here and they start talking about like they haven't rated or anything. They're just a person. They come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm making a game," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. What is it?" You know, I am interested in what people are talking about, and then they just like stay on their own game as a topic for like an hour when no one's engaging them, and I've stopped responding to them. And it's like at that point, like you should be a streamer. You should be talking about your game with your own audience. I don't like those kinds of chatters. Once I break up a train of thought in like 15. Oh yeah, that's one of the rules of this stream though, is no segmenting messages. I love some monster raising element. So I think it's a good thing to add. I think it'll be fun, but I think there are a lot of things that are in that category of would be fun, would be appreciated by the player base that we shouldn't do because of push launch. So we could potentially drop this as like a V1.1 update or something. So I don't know if it's necessary for launch, but it's very hard to tell. Yo, thank you for the resub. Happy 64 months. I went through that whole list. I think I responded via DM, but it was very helpful. So thank you for sharing it. Pies. Okay, so we could add this later. We would probably need more perks. Would we need to slow anything down? What if all we added was the rare item system? So you'd be, well, and maybe a few perks. So I don't know what the rare item system will do yet, but I think it'll feel like the pace of the game slowed down greatly. We probably need more interaction points for systems you've already explored. So maybe in hard mode, you can upgrade the town hall, and that unlocks a wave of new perks. I'm a little worried if those are going to be real people. Well, that's one of the nice things about ChatGPT research. So you can't count on it. You know, let's say it comes up with whatever, John Doe at example.com. You can't count on this being a real email address. But then in parentheses, it'll typically say like twitter.com. And you click this and it'll show where they pulled this information from. And you're like, oh, okay, it is their actual information. So I kind of like that about the research aspect. You can't trust it, but you can just click the link and verify it. So it takes like, 3 seconds as opposed to going and finding that information yourself, which might take a couple minutes. Substitute adventures with them. So having monsters battle for you has been done in so many games that I don't think I'd want to do that here. But having them be fed to a chef slime to give you experience points has not been done in a lot of games. That I definitely want to see. All right, so then we should figure out the rare item system. What problem are we solving exactly? So what problem are we solving by adding this? Or problems? One is that we need players to have something to look forward to after beating the first half of the game. I'm going to write half in quotes because I don't actually know if it's half. Maybe it's only half by playtime, not by mechanics or bosses. All right, so there's that. We need for gold to still matter. We need for items to still matter, since the game is called Skeleseller. Had to... Wait, did you make a new account, Boomer Tester? I was like, what's going on here? I thought this was going to be a joke message. Being able to capture monsters via the chef's line. So the idea, in short, and an ad's about to start. I'll wait until. Oh wait, the ad's about to end. Never mind, I misread that message. Yeah, the monster collection thing was something like this. You find eggs somehow, you incubate them, they hatch onto your like monster farm. By the way, maybe they're not monsters, maybe they're all snakes or something. And then you raise them somehow, and then you feed them to the chef slime, and you get wisdom sludge. Keep getting small ads more frequently today. I haven't changed it. I haven't touched it in months. But it might be that Twitch is running some experiments, or they've just changed how this stuff works. What do the adventurers want to be like you? Speaking of changing and substituting and evolving adventures. What do you mean? You're dead. If they want to be like you, that means they'd have to die, right? And Kevin, thanks for gifting a sub. Kevin's been gifting subs to everybody. Should fire him more often. Had an affiliated account that I decided to dust off. I asked Twitch support if that would be okay. Wait, do you have... Yeah, they're two different accounts. Okay, I see. So that they wouldn't like merge them for you? Skell Adventurer. I don't think I want new adventurers necessarily. I think I want to figure out what the rare item system is going to be. But first we need to figure out what problem it solves. You know, a lot of times when I was designing games on stream, a lot of people would just say like, oh, you know what'd be nice is this system. And it's like, I don't know, imagine you're making Mario Kart and someone's like, you know what'd be cool is a first person shooter element to the game. It's like that, yeah, maybe. Maybe Mario Kart with guns is like a cool new thing that no one's ever explored. But probably that's not really fitting for a game like this, and that people are just kind of suggesting things. I'm not saying you're doing that, Karada, right now. I'm saying that I think what I'm on is trying to figure out what problems do we have and how do we solve these specific ones. And there are lots of potential solutions, but the other constraint that we have is time. So if I had a year to code however much of this I wanted, I'd probably just do like 7 different ideas and see which 3 rise to the top. Oh, like I said, the ad settings I have are the minimum possible so that people don't have pre-rolls. I am not trying to crank up ads in this channel. And I don't control when they run manually, just out of laziness, basically. I tend to not really take breaks, which I shouldn't be doing, but I should take more breaks. And ads typically are timed with people's breaks, and I just only have that set up. Still need for gold to matter, need for items to still matter. Need gold to matter, need items to matter. Need something to look forward to. Is there any other thing we're solving with this? I think that's it. And I think so many things can fit into this category, except for maybe this third one, needing items to matter. Rare items are items. So if items matter, then rare items will matter. All right, so let's see. If we want to reuse the only system for getting more power, we'd give you wisdom sludge. So these are the things you care about. You might want money. Okay, so let's say let's just have a basic idea here. Rare items are just worth a lot of money. They would need to be worth so much more than regular items that you want to upgrade them somehow, and that you want to support the finding / selling of rare items. Maybe we need to change. Has anyone seen me laugh like this? Have you not seen the water clip? Oh my god, this is the most I've laughed on stream. And then I think something happened more recently than that. I don't remember what it was. Some other surprising thing I stumbled on. Guitar Store. I wonder for the playtest build or in general, it'd be helpful to keep track of the timestamps when players build specific buildings, somewhat to just see how the progress looks like from the beginning. It could be. I think so. Right now, the demo is like approximately equal to the playtest, and in terms of buildings, in terms of perks, it's identical. The only difference right now is adventures are different, and even that's not finalized yet. You're not supposed to get them at the same time in the playtest version. So anyway, what I expect is that the current pacing of the game is actually pretty good at this point. So that whatever we're tacking on at the end might be the problem. And we're probably only going to add like 1 or 2 more buildings, if even that. So I'm not sure how much that's going to matter yet. But the other thing about timestamps is you need to do it based on game time, because we expose cheats to playtesters. So if they're playing at 8x speed and you see that at minute 5 they build the farm, and then at minute like 5.5 they build the tavern, that could actually have been 4 minutes later in real time. So we need to know it from that. You wore t-shirts back then? Yeah. Changed my brand in 2020. So yeah, there'd be this, and then they may sort of invalidate old items. That's the basic idea. So some just general ideas here. There could be some kind of processing for rare items. E.g., maybe they spawn as treasure chests that you need to open. Maybe there's some kind of crafting. Okay, an idea just struck me that I want to explore for a little bit. What if we did this in a very Skeleseller way? Like, what if you set up crafting recipes somehow? They all have 2 inputs, e.g. 2 small blue potions. Then your skeletons, like, or your workers, walk the items somewhere, or maybe into each other to craft the new thing. It keeps repeating this until you get to the crafted output that you're looking for. This would make you seek out different locations to get loot, make you manage a crafting recipe. It would make item stacking better, probably. Feels indecent. I mean, normally my sleeves are rolled down. Just spitballing, didn't realize you would take it too seriously. No, that's, like I said, it's fine, Karada. And I don't, you're not like, it's not like you super derailed chat or something. You will probably, within the streams today, see what it's like when someone derails the chat with game design. Okay, I never really thought about this. I guess there are some issues with this though. Also, we're talking about a new system again and not necessarily rare items, but still, I think the crafting thing could be like flavor wise, it's a win no matter what. No matter what I do, if you use the term crafting, people are going to be like, oh, okay, I want that or I get that. It's sort of like putting the farm into the game or talking about monster collection. There's some people who it doesn't really matter the manifestation of the system. They just see the system and they think, oh, that's on my alley. And the same sort of thing kind of happens with fishing in the game. Fishing in this game is really the same as battling. And yet people see fishing sometimes and they're like, oh, I like fishing in other games, so I should just try it in this. I like it here. Okay, so the 2 input thing may make this a bit tougher since you get into all items requiring 2 to the n inputs. And those inputs could vary. I do like this though. I'm so steamed right now. Excuse my French, but I'm extra agitated. Yeah, I kind of like this idea. I talked about crafting before, and there was a reason why I rejected it. So let me take a look at my old documents here and see if I can find this. By the way, this is what today's stream is going to be like, or streams. I might stream for 6 hours doing this. I'm just going to be in a document talking about a bunch of ramblings and trying to figure out what we can do. But for this particular moment, I am looking for why I rejected crafting. I think it was in this document. I think a lot of times people don't care about how mechanically complex something is, and more just that they like the flavor or theme. I think the complexity matters in terms of how much fun people have. I've been talking about there's a whole category of games where you have to use your brain, and not every game is like this. So some like the factory games, I think you have to use your brain. Puzzle games, you generally have to use your brain. Like deep strategy games, so something like Slay the Spire or whatever, you have to use your brain. You can't just be on autopilot. At least not when you're learning these games. There's a level of mastery you can reach where you can probably shut your brain off for practically anything. And then there are games where you can shut your brain off. And these games are games like, I guess like party games. Generally, if there's not a lot to learn, they're intentionally supposed to be pretty casual. Generally like, I don't know, sort of platformers, action games, those sorts of things. There's just not as much to think about. I'm trying to think of a specific example of something that I think is like an ultimate shut your brain off kind of game. Can't really think of anything. Yeah, I don't know. For me, like Diablo 2 is like a shut your brain off kind of game, but that's because I played it a lot, I guess. Hey, Codex. Isn't every stream this? Well, sometimes I'm looking at an editor and typing code. Hey, Goose. Yeah, Vampire Survivors. Yeah. That's a perfect example. This is like, you don't really need to pay attention to too much. The only time you need to have your brain engaged is picking a power up or an item. And there's this like item combination system that does have you put in a little bit of thought. But yeah, at least when you're first playing, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. You're just using the arrow keys. That's it. Yeah, idlers, incrementals. So there was a reason why I brought this up. Oh yeah, because of what Luna was saying about the mechanical complexity. So I think there's a point where your game is easy to understand, but it's hard to play. And I guess Slay the Spire is kind of the example I'd use here. Like the rules aren't that hard. It's a card game, so you understand drawing cards. The actual individual mechanics are things like block and frail and whatever else. And like you learn those pretty quickly too. But you cannot turn your brain off when playing this game. You just have too many numbers to think about, how you play out a turn, what order you play your cards in. And I think that can impact people's enjoyment. I guess another example, I just played a game yesterday that was sort of like, what's the game? Backpack Battles. It was an inventory management game. Is there a Steam page? Yeah. It was an inventory management game. And the way that these games typically work, for people who haven't seen this before, is you have you have an inventory, and then you have items that you put in the inventory that have specific shapes. So like the banana has an L shape. It can only go in something that has a block here, here, and here. And everything has a shape, and you have a certain size of your inventory, and you might expand it in certain ways. So at any given point, you need to think about, how do these things best fit? What are they touching? Like, what do these things do? What do I need? There's so many different thoughts you need to have about the strategy here that I'm just like, not the genre for me. I want to turn my brain off. A lot of games have become the process of becoming a turn your brain off game. Like those simulation games where the only goal is to actively play a game less. Yeah, I think, you know what I think this is caused by, though? I think it's caused by just general society and what we're doing as a society. So you think of our short form content pushing us to like burning out our brains, then that pushes us to, we want media that lets us relax, I guess. I'm simplifying things. This is a hypothesis that is even happening anyway, but yeah, at least that's kind of how I feel. Like, I'm working enough throughout the day. I'm working pretty hard. I don't want to do more work afterward. And a lot of these factory games, just, they feel like programming to me. And after a day of programming, I don't want to do more programming. Why aren't you creating that game? Paj, I don't know if you've seen, but the feedback on Skeleseller has been actually pretty good lately. We've got a decent chunk of Steam reviews too now. I think we're at 39. No, we hit 40. What's the newest one? Let's see if I can find that. June 30th? It doesn't even show July. Oh, there should be one in July somewhere. Yeah, I've seen this review, and that was June 30th. There should be one after this. I don't know. Maybe it'll show up later. Watch streams of YouTube on my second monitor, like right now with PoE. Yeah. Yeah, in PoE, I assume when you started playing, needed to be more active and prominent because of just how much was going on. But now you put in so many hours that you can just relax and play it. All right, anyway, going back to this. So the 2-input thing may make this a bit tougher. I want to see why I didn't want crafting in the game to begin with. And I think I said it was practically an impossibility to do well. The reason why crafted items make sense in other games is that most items have a function on their own. We don't have that in this game. Okay, so that was my pushback before. My pushback for crafting before this was that we don't have functions on items, on individual items. They're all just proxies for money. So we would need the crafted output to matter. Maybe that's the customer desire system. Like, it becomes the only way to make money. That could be it. I don't know if that would be fun. We need to make sure that it's fun because you need to be able to idle for this stuff. We still need to consider idle players, not because I want idling to be a primary way of playing, but because it informs the just game design philosophy of any new system. Or rather, it maintains the game design philosophy of any new system. All right, did I write anything else about this? What do you get? Fish up chests, craft keys, etc. Failure rate to crafting. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't think I like games that do this. You can craft and then fail to craft something. Sometimes it refunds some of the materials. Sometimes you just don't make a great item. I think if you're going to do this at all, I think the best way to do it is you craft a random version of that item. So imagine you have, like, I'm just making things up. You have a wooden sword and it does 4 to 6 damage. You could also get something like sharp wooden sword from it and it does 4 to 7 damage. So it's like, okay, you could make the bad version of this, but there's a 10% chance that you make the good version of this. Then it's not like a total waste of your time if you do make the slightly worse version. But outright failing a recipe, I think that's not fun in games. So far, my conclusion is that I can't get crafting using disparate items to work with the game. Items just don't have enough functions for this to make sense, and to craft a valuable item is not interesting or fun. Crafted items would probably have to be in their own class. That's what led me to the idea of a chance-based thing with chests and keys. Okay, so it could drastically increase their value, and it could be that customers just want specific things. We run into an interesting problem, though, if we do this. So if we do change the customer desire system, then we still need there to be customers who want anything. Otherwise, it would have been best for you to stay in the pre-hard mode world where customers buy anything. I think it's fine to have crafting without functions for each item. Like you get bonus money if you hold on to an item to combine it with one later. I think in a lot of games it would be, but I don't think that would work in Skeleseller. So imagine that you're getting just, let's say like a fire sword, and it costs 50 gold. So you can sell that sword at any point in Skeleseller and get 50 gold. Or we say you can like craft 2 of them together to get, I don't know, like ultra sword that sells for 125 gold. So basically what you're saying here is you're getting like plus 25% return by crafting. The reason why I don't think this would work in Skeleseller is because plus 25% isn't so much. Like it's not plus 2500%. So you could just ignore the crafting system completely and be like, yeah, sure, it's going to take me a 25% longer to beat the game by just ignoring crafting. So we need to make it so that you're strongly incentivized to craft, at which point we need to make these numbers larger so that you're like, ooh, okay, now I'm really slowing down my gameplay. Like 250% return, I could be really speeding things up. Or we make it required. Or like functionally required, I guess. So as an example, like customers start wanting ultra swords and won't buy fire swords. And then ultra swords don't need to cost a lot more. Yeah, sure, they can go for 60 gold or something like that. Or, and I guess in this case, yeah, 120 gold. And it's like, well, I need to do this because otherwise I'm not selling anything. So, yeah, I think that's why we've got to be careful, because at its core, Skeleseller is an automated game, which means that at its core, you could just leave it and you'll still progress. And by leaving it, you can stop interacting with systems. In fact, this is something I was trying yesterday. So the very first location in the game gives you small blue potions. So if we beat this location, we see a potion, we get it, it sells for 3 gold. 3 gold is not a lot of money in this game. And eventually you start having buildings that cost you 100 and perks that cost you 500. But yesterday I was doing so much stuff and I had auto battle running. So even with just small blue potions, I still got to 1,000 gold. And then I spent it all, and then I left it again for a while, and I got back up to 500 gold or something. So you could play the game even without getting any new items, and you could just never get the fishing pond. You could never upgrade the farm. You would still end up eventually getting everything in the game. By the way that other idle games solve this, the typical solution is to use powers of 10. So you get 3 gold now, and you need 3,000 gold. Okay, sure, you could leave it. You can get 1,000 potions, but now you're going to need 300,000 gold. Are you really going to leave it for that long? Like, no, probably not. So now you're going to bump yourself up to the item that sells for 1,500 gold at a time. And then you're going to need, 3 times 10 to the whatever 13th amount of gold. And they just keep entering the realm of like inhuman numbers. I don't want to do that. And that's part of the reason why we need to make sure that whatever is the most impactful way to play is also the most fun way to play. Better multiplayer games or items get much better value the harder they are to get. Yeah, I think so. I still think failing in a multiplayer game when you're crafting, I don't think it feels good. I think there are some game mechanics that just feel bad. So for example, stun on a player character. You lose control of your character and you can't do any inputs for that time. Like that's not as fun as, let's say, like a dizzy mechanic or something where you reverse the controls. It's like, okay, well now at least I can play, but it takes higher skill to think left is going to turn right and right is going to turn left. So yeah, stun doesn't feel good. Like wasting materials doesn't feel good. There's a bunch of those sorts of things. And some people want a frustrating game. there's a whole category now of like the, what is it called? Getting over it kind of games. What do they call this kind of game? Psychological horror. Okay. I guess that's probably fair. So for those who haven't seen this game, you're in a cauldron and you have a sledgehammer and the controls are intentionally obtuse. The way you move is by like rotating your hammer around and hooking yourself onto things and like launching yourself off. And here, this doesn't look so bad, right? You can be like, oh, I see the fun of this. But eventually you start going up in the world, which means that if you fall, you have to retread all of that ground. Some people love this kind of game, and you can see it's got a ton of reviews. It's probably made a lot of money. And even back before then, I remember my first experience with this was Kaizo Super Mario World. This was a version of Super Mario World that was just intentionally obtuse. I don't see any pictures that show it just from the picture itself. I'm trying not to show a video or anything here. Yeah, so something like this, imagine. If you've ever played Super Mario World. This, oh, okay, I can't zoom in. So we have just 3 platforms here and then an obvious like trap. You can't touch the ceiling. You have to bounce off of this enemy perfectly. Like some people like taking 10 attempts to figure this out and do this. Hey, Smooth. It's a game that made me quit streaming for 3 years, really? Yeah, I want to be the Boshi. I want to be the guy. Yeah, all the Kaizo games. And just kind of Super Mario Maker in general. I guess a lot of people made the frustrating levels. It would take them like 4 months to complete it themselves so that 3 people in the world might complete it. All right, anything else I wrote about crafting here? Yeah, I wrote, what if you could create a quest and that's crafting? You drag an item to a podium. So this could be what the quest system turns into. Could be that you get food somehow and feed it to characters who will craft random items for you. Oh man, a lot of this turned into what we have farming. I don't think it'd be fun to have a quest that requires several crafted items that are tough to get. What if crafting, you were crafting a battle? Crafting factor into this at all? Anything else we wrote? Rare items. I said this could allow crafting to be interesting. There could be recipes for crafting and you have to find the recipe. The recipe, oh, I didn't even think about that. It's pretty interesting. We could make it so that recipes for items are rare drops. Then the crafted stuff itself isn't so rare. It definitely unlocks a whole set of new mechanics. I'm leaning toward this, and I'm feeling better and better about the potential of this idea, even though we haven't thought about it yet. So imagine if I was just like, hey, do you think you could make money on the internet? You'd be like, oh, I think you can. But we don't know what that business idea is yet. So I think crafting can be doable, and I think it can fit into the philosophy of Skeleseller, but I don't know the parameters of it yet. Any other thing here? Crafting played into seed making. Okay. So if we think of what we could use as an output for crafting, output of the crafting system could be like quest inputs. So basically more workers. I don't think that on its own is interesting enough. Not interesting enough on its own. Oh, what else? What else? Gold, perks, direct perk unlocks. More adventurers, which you might not care about at that point. I think it pretty much needs to be gold. And then we just need gold to matter. I'm leaning toward it being gold that comes out of this system. And then having gold matter at this point in the game. More perks, more adventurers. It's more flexible that way and lets us add any number of other things afterward to use the currencies we already have. I guess that was the other thing I didn't write, which is power progression, which in our case is wisdom sludge, but it could be something else. Maybe you are crafting an item for, yeah, we could write this down, permanent upgrades for specific adventurers. E.g., you craft like the golem helm or something like that, and it's, you know, +5 fortitude for your golem. Or I don't know what you're crafting. Maybe golem helm doesn't make sense, but yeah, something like that. That could always happen. That could be an idea, but I don't know if I want to go in that direction. It's like a level up that you don't need to pay for more than just getting this thing. And people have talked about equipment for a very long time in this game. I don't want equipment to be a thing. I don't want there to be the UI burden of that. I don't want there to be comparing items. So I want this to be pretty straightforward and like casual and fun. Play for New Year's. As I played my 4th hour in, it fell to the bottom. But that couldn't have stopped your stream for 3 years on its own, right? Must have been something else. Also have a system of selecting an active recipe which your workers will apply items to. Players will have to choose which recipe they want automated. Yeah, and for that, there needs to be a reason to pick one item over another one. And that's why I said we couldn't do the crafting system in the first place. Yeah, my pushback for crafting before this was that we don't have functions for individual items. So suppose we add crafting. Well, I guess let me jot down some other ideas before I get back to this. But yeah, I still need to address my pushback. Why craft item X over item Y? But still, I want to get to the ideas that we have here. So I think there could be a crafting building or a crafting station. Do we have any other graphics that just kind of fit for this? And that might spark some ideas here too. I want to take a look. Give me a sec. Let me see if I can find this really fast. Pictures, super retro world. Okay. So here are all the graphics that we do have. I think I've looked through these a lot, but these are just the characters. We have some treasure chests. We have some gems. Otherwise, nothing really in there. Okay, that's fine. Desert pack. I don't think there's anything in here that's worth looking at. No, yeah, nothing too crazy. Oh, hey, we have different flags. I didn't realize. I wonder if we should give you a random flag color. Crystals. Maybe this is something the enchanter ends up doing. There are a whole bunch of switches and stuff. Although I don't think they're fitting in our game. I had one in the world at some point. Anything here we haven't used? Not really. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything to look at over here. We don't need that. Gigantic tree shouldn't have anything. No. All right, there's only one other one I wanted to look at, and that's the market pack. Where is that? Marketplace. No. We could maybe use the pots for this. But yeah, all right. There's just to potentially spark some ideas here. Could be a crafting building or a crafting station. You say what it is you want to make, and the skeletons will figure, well, the workers will figure out how. This could look kind of like the quest thing. Maybe it's a crafting NPC, and you bring it the inputs for an item. It works like how a quest does, and then it increments numbers until you get the output. The nice thing about a system like this is that, as I kind of mentioned, we have all the pieces coded. We have NPCs in the game. We have the tavern, so we need something like this. But yeah, I'm thinking, what if you're bringing items instead of to a treasure chest, or maybe it is a treasure chest still, but you see this same sort of interface. So here, we're not crafting anything. We're completing a quest, and after getting 12 potions, we get a worker. But what if you saw 12 potions here and 14 swords, and what you got out of it was a rare necklace or something, and then that necklace is something that a customer wants. Unlocking skills. That's sort of like this that we're talking about here. +5 fortitude or +5 fortitude or +1 skill point for your golem, something like that. There, I guess maybe what you're talking about is actually unlocking new skills completely. I don't want to make more skills for adventurers if I can help it. But also get rare skills themselves that you can then put points into. Maybe the last skill or two for an adventurer could be unlocked in this way. For to tell a funny part of the story, yeah. Okay. Yeah, beside. All right, so this is interesting. this at least mechanically makes sense in the game. Mechanically, this works identically to the tavern, which already had a bunch of upsides. It lets your workers move items for you. It lets you also move the items if you want. And yeah, items still matter. That's pretty much the important part. Alternate dump mechanic. I may want to craft X over Y simply because I'm getting an overabundance of X's base materials and want to put them to use somehow. So taking, for example, 5 potions and producing a high quality potion that takes 1 shop space is a good motivation. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Could be just that you have more of X's inputs than Y's and want to get rid of those items. I guess let's just say other questions here. Can you craft many things at once? And what if some of those things share inputs? How does the crafter choose which one to put it toward? And how do we keep this simple? So something that, what was this about? Oh yeah, something that I think is kind of interesting about the garbage slime here is this is kind of like the world's simplest mini game built into a recycling mechanic. So you get a potion and you put it in. Based on how high up this green bar is, it's going to offer more money. So right now it's offering 3 if I just speed up the game here. It now offers 4. And then if we wait a little bit longer, it's going to offer 5. And that's where it caps out. Okay, apparently we wait a lot longer. There it goes. So yeah. And as you feed it, so if I put a bunch of potions onto here, at some point it's not worth it to get 1 gold out of a potion. So this is kind of a mini game, but it's not really presented as a mini game. I wonder if we could do something like that for crafting. So if you choose, maybe you have 3 crafting stations, let's say, and anytime you use the same, or anytime a recipe takes an ingredient that's shared, it gets applied to all of the items at once. So on the surface, this sounds like, oh, cool. Okay, so I should try to pick the items that are going to give me the most stuff. But I think if you go any deeper than this for Skeleseller, it probably just wouldn't work out. And I've got kind of a gut feeling about that I could probably go into more detail about, basically being that you're only going to so many places at once. So how does this impact your location choice in the game? And how does like hard mode factor into this? Maybe the crafted recipes only take items from the hard locations. You can still sell the easy mode stuff for gold quickly, but the crafted items are worth more or are desired more. I like that idea of the customer desire system coming into play more. So you get to the hard mode. By the way, let's make some terms clear here. So I'm talking about easy mode is basically like everything in the demo right now. And then hard mode would be you beat the Inferno and now you can upgrade old locations to go deeper into them. So the forest turns into something like the, I don't know, the Oasis or something, or the forest cave, something along those lines. Like the volcano could go into like the center of the planet or something, making things up here. But from the forest, you get small blue potions. And from the forest cave, maybe you'd get, I don't know, frost swords or something. So they could give you drastically different items. So basically what I'm getting at is when crafting stuff, maybe you're only using the hard mode ingredients. So small blue potion is worth 3 gold. A frost sword I don't know, maybe it's worth 20 gold, but it's going to be crafted into something that's worth more. I guess we need to think of that. Can you sell crafting reagents? Are they just for crafting? Are they just not typically desired by customers? Is there any struggle between the priorities of workers? Usually if they want to bring a crafting reagent that happens to be a weapon to the weapon shop to sell, as opposed to having the craft person make a new item out of it. I don't like this. I don't think you're battling in so many locations that this will matter. Also, another idea, there could be a hard fishing pond. Hard mode fishing pond gives more sludge and makes the fish tougher. It could be interesting. Also, something I've kind of glossed over. The whole original point of rare items was supposed to be something that there's a 10% chance that you get this particular item. Is that still interesting? Because we could just do that regardless. It could be that every once in a while you find a rare item. Maybe the rare items are the crafted items. Yeah, maybe that's it. Are rare items still a thing? Maybe that, I think that could just be a perk. Maybe it's just a perk for the crafter. You have a 10% chance to find the item you're trying to craft from the latest location or something like that. Obviously need to think about balance. Maybe the chance isn't exposed and we base it on the value of the other items that drop in that location. Yeah. All right, so I still haven't really figured out how this is going to work. And should there be any sort of creativity to this? So in a lot of games, you have a crafting recipe that's just set. So in order to make a wooden axe, it takes 10 wood and 5 stone. What if you could customize those numbers for Skeleseller? So you say you want to make something that takes 500 wood and 400 stone, and it just spits out an item. Gut feeling here is this probably isn't fun. There's some formula that we would be applying behind the scenes that a player would probably want to know. Like a pity system, like after failing to loot the item X times, you can just craft it. Not quite, at least not the way I was thinking about it. Like the concept of a rare item is fun for most players. And we originally were trying to design the system as the rare item system, and it morphed into crafting. So it was like, the question is, could we still have rare items? And let's say you're crafting, again, like Frost Sword here. And let's say it's, 10 magic potions and 1 sword. And it makes a Frost Sword. What if from a battle, you could also just 10% chance to drop a Frost Sword? So it's sort of like saying, hey, all of the value of these potions in this sword are just given to you all at once, but rarely. But you're guaranteed these potions in the sword anyway, so you could also make it yourself. But making it yourself takes the time of your workers, or you're dragging items around. Oh, this also works with item stacking. Just another thing that was important here. I guess I should be copying this into here. All right, so I think I like the idea of dedicated recipes. I'm still not totally sure what you're doing with these items. I think you're selling them. Yeah, I think you kind of have to. And they could be the other category of items that I haven't talked about. which is the sort of jewelry items that we had. Or we call them accessories, or maybe we do just call them rare items. So there are a whole bunch of things on here that kind of don't make sense to sell in a weapon shop, like a candle or a clock. But this is not an armor or a potion either. And some of these are cool looking armors, like this one or this one or something. So maybe sometimes it does reuse the original shops. And I guess that's the other question here. Like, what are your shops used for? Maybe your shops are the crafting points? Like having... There are 10 inputs in each shop. Could be used for crafting. This is a really weird way of doing it. And with item stacking, you could have up to 30 items. But never greater than 10 unique items. So essentially, like, what if you put 10 red potions in the potion shop and it converted them into a glowing red potion? I don't know if I like that because I'm not sure what I like or not. I guess a benefit of this is that workers would still have their exact same logic and it wouldn't change the layout of your town. So the repercussions of this, I guess. Pros, cons. We probably couldn't craft an item category that the shop doesn't already sell. Yeah, e.g. a sword can't take, like frost sword can't take ice potion plus steel sword because those don't both go into the same shop. Adventurers can't hold items. Adventurers can when you get a perk that makes them be able to hold items. It's this perk. But if you mean hold items like equipment, then no, they can't do that. Best in slot is usual item theme, not in this case. I think quests will still be there for your new workers, which I think you'll still want. So we basically need workers to still matter. And I think workers do matter in this system. We could put workers to use for crafting. Maybe they need to take time to craft such that their walking speed doesn't matter as much. And you now have another thing you want to upgrade. But it need to look like they're doing something. Also, I guess your adventurers would be able to do whatever this thing is too. Okay, I don't like the idea of using shops, but I still haven't really figured out why I don't like it. Cons, shops are typically for selling stuff. So it's possible that you put an input in the shop and it just gets sold. It'd be very frustrating. Yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why we shouldn't do this. So the shop should not be the crafting points then. And it could be anything. Let's fully build the town so that we can just see kind of where is their space. All right, so that's everything we have right now. So anything that involves items typically come out of the portal and into your warehouse. So it would need to be close to something in there. But actually, something I just thought of, the warehouse is right now pretty huge because it can hold 64 items, but that's because we don't have the shelving in yet. Once we put the shelving in, this is all going to get consolidated to be maybe half the size, in which case then the top of this would free up for us to use as a crafting station. because the warehouse would just be this little tiny bit here, and then we could put a path out the back to a crafting station, and the crafting thing could feed into this. If it doesn't take much of your time, what was the reason for that? To keep the game simpler or idler, or a technical reason? I think it won't take much of my time because I wrote it all here somewhere. So I can just share that post with you. This isn't totally, how do I link to this? This isn't totally up to date anymore. But this goes into my reasoning for this. Could relocate the enchanter and place the crafting next to the warehouse. Yeah, I guess the enchanter could go anywhere. Yeah. The enchanter can, well, as far as space goes for whatever this new thing is, the enchanter could be moved, and the warehouse will probably be cut in half vertically when we have the shelving in the game. In other words, the crafting thing can be generally centrally located without a big problem. Yeah, I hope that answers a question too, Zico. Let me know if you have any other follow-ups on that. But yeah, I don't think equipment fits in the game. Okay, so let's just come up with what's the most like basic thing. What's the most basic thing we can do? And it's introduce a new building. The crafter or building, new building / person. The crafter. They have a recipe that you can set. And then workers it will show something like the quest board. So let's take a picture of the quest board when it's got something like this. And then let's give ourselves some items and speed this up a bit. I just wanted to fill in some of the progress, but not all of it. There we go. That's good. I'll take a picture of the whole tavern. Sure. Show something on the quest board where you can see how many inputs you need to form your recipe. Upon forming the recipe, the item will go into like a special output only slot that the workers can pull from. Maybe you can't craft again until that item is taken from the slot. The slot only exists to make sure you don't lose the item. Okay, so that's the most basic thing. And I think that's pretty reasonable. I think it'll be understandable. I think the only thing we need to do is make a UI so that instead of something like a quest, it says, here are the different things you can make. And it's maybe got some pictures. So like 2 potions plus 5 boots or whatever makes a thing. Yeah. Maybe the quest board in this case is the list of recipes. And it shows pictorial inputs and outputs. E.g. 2x. Is there like a potion graphic? Yeah, 2x potion plus 5x x equals or goes to 1x. Just whatever. Swords. But we haven't answered any of this other stuff. Also, could you switch recipes while something is being made? Can you cancel a recipe from being made? E.g. to be able to switch to another one. And then what kind of quantities would this take of these items? And what does this mean for your shops in the meantime? So like you're collecting potions and boots. You're probably going to just go to those locations. So now your shops are not stocking potions and they're not stocking boots. it'd be kind of interesting to just cause like a flood of items. So you craft these things, and what you get out of it is like 40 pairs of enchanted boots, which you then need to sell. How much do you get out of one crafting recipe? Maybe this is a way to flood the market with more goods. So like 5, 10 ingredients give 40 outputs. So you have a lot to sell. Am I familiar with Majesty Fantasy Sim? No, let me look that up. Majesty Fantasy Sim. Renee Hefe. Oh, I think someone told me about this a while ago. And I think I looked into this. I didn't actually play this game, but I think I watched someone's YouTube video about it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen this, but only because of somebody in chat. But what about it? Because I don't really fully remember. Hey, Carnaggio, how's the game coming along? It's coming along pretty well. Today we're working on game design stuff. And even this is coming along pretty well. There's a sort of gut feeling you have when you're designing of whether you're making progress. Because it's not just have I explored a bunch of ideas. It's like, have I properly critically analyzed those ideas? And I don't know if I have exactly, but I feel like we're closer to something. I don't think this is quite there yet, though. And I guess one of the ways we could do this is we keep coming up with what's the most basic answer that will actually solve our problem, and then try to figure out, is this fun? How do we keep this simple? Is this fun? Or I guess, does this sound fun? So yeah, the Y craft item X over item Y, I feel like we have to make this a requirement. I just can't see anything other than we make this a requirement. Maybe customers only desire specific items. Then again, unless there are trends or some greater system controlling this, then you could still pick any item and just stick to that forever. Highly suggest you to play it. Very similar to your game in many ways. Also can bring you good ideas from the past. I've tried to be careful about playing games that are similar so that Skeleseller remains pretty unique. I like the current formulation of Skeleseller systems, and I think players tend to as well. Like, we've made items front and center in the game, which I'm sure other games have done too. But like the fact that you can pick up an item and put it into a shop, I need the shop to exist first, and that your workers also can do the same thing. It's like, how many games have you played where an item is just a line of text? Hey, you have 42 swords. Oh, okay, sure. But like in this game, they're visible. And your workers actually take the time to walk them places. And it makes it feel like the town is lively and everything. Like, this is a combination of things that I'm sure I'm motivated and biased by other games, but I'm not actively pulling like, oh, here's what this game did, and I think that'll work in our game, and here's what this game did. I'm only subconsciously doing that. And I like, at least for the rest of the Skeleseller design, I'd like to continue along those lines so that it maintains the sort of charm that it has. Just send it. We'll test it for you and give you valuable feedback. Send what? Yeah, send what? If you're talking about the game itself, there's already a demo, and we've gotten feedback, and there is a playtest thing too. The problem isn't that I have a system already coded and I'm wondering what people think. It's that I don't want to spend the month coding a system that people aren't going to like. Oh, like full send more joke. Gotcha. Okay. I wasn't sure. It's only half listening. Feel free to disregard. One idea that came up at some point is requiring a specific amount of X crafted item, upgrade the portal, build or upgrade buildings. Yeah, the thing that I don't like about that is that it's not as flexible. So yeah, let's say crafted items are dog-eared for specific things, e.g. hiring a new adventurer. If you don't want that thing, then you can ignore this system. Whereas if it's for gold, you can't really ignore gold because it's used for everything, and you should want something in the game. So yeah, that's why I think we need to just make it be flexible. However, I should really take a break. I think today's going to be a long day of game design, so I should not just spend it in 2 blocks of like 4 hours. It's all right. I'll be back. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Okay, hello again. Close the game. All right, I'm hitting the same problem that I had originally, which is like how do we get you to care about crafting different items? So one way we could take this is the opposite of what I just said above. I was playing, well, the game ended, right? We could make specific upgrades require combinations of items. So if you do want a certain perk, you seek out those items. This would make gold pretty much meaningless since the items would be the hard part and the gold would presumably happen naturally. How do you feel about quests eventually requiring crafted items? So this is like a proxy for this question of dog earing stuff. So let's say quests require specific items. Quests are only for workers. So it's like saying specific items are for workers. And if you don't want workers, then you'd be like, I'll just ignore the system. Like, there's a point where you probably won't care about workers because you'll get an extra set of adventurers. We need to balance the game such that we expect you to have those adventurers, I suppose. And then we expect you to have the workers, I guess. But again, this is just an idle game. And what's the difference between, let's say, 5 workers versus 10 workers? Is it going to be such a huge difference that you're like, yeah, I can't really get this to work? Will you just switch to using the worker spell and kind of compensating for it? And what we could do is we could add in something that requires you... Man. I was going to say some system that requires you to use the crafted items. But I feel like it'd be, if it's going to turn into gold eventually anyway, it pretty much has to be that like customers start desiring certain items. Maybe that's how that works. Customers could just desire certain items and they eventually desire more powerful crafted items. That way you can't just stay in the same location forever. Use crafting to sell for a larger gain. You'll need more workers to speed up that process of gathering the mats at the crafting station. Yeah, I still have my reservations about this. Because as I mentioned earlier, suppose you have something really simple here. Let's say you just have potion and it's worth whatever, 5 gold. And potion plus potion makes big potion. And that's worth, I don't know, 50 gold even, let's say. You could just ignore the crafting system and still just sell regular potions. Like a 10x difference is still not even that crazy. And there's a point where we could push this to where you can't ignore this anymore. So if this were 50,000 gold and we say, hey, your like basic perk costs 100,000 gold, then you'd be like, all right, I'm not going to collect 20,000 potions. But you will collect, what is it? 4 potions? 4 would get you there. So yeah, the difference between 4 and 20,000 is so much that you'd be like, I can't ignore this system. And that is one way of solving this. And I should probably write that down and why I don't want to do that. We could just change the order of magnitude of gold brought in by crafted items. No, that's not even true. This wouldn't make you want different items. Well, it kind of would. We say like the first crafted item gives 1,000 gold. The next one gives 10,000 gold. The next gives, 100,000, etc. I strongly dislike this. Yeah, you missed it. So it can't just be gold. That's the conclusion I keep coming down to. It can't just be that gives you gold, because if the general conclusion here is that crafted items can't just give you gold unless we scale, like drastically scale that amount of gold. The customer desire thing is kind of the closest to what I was talking about here that could maybe work. Like, do we even have any customers in town? Do we even have any items? Grant items. All right, let's just speed this up. And let's get all of the customers we can afford. All right. So let them figure everything out. Let's upgrade this. I guess just, oh, we already have that. All right, so I'm gonna let this run for a little while. There we go. So here, this person wants a yellow potion. Let's take a picture once they've hopefully like moved out of the way a little bit. They're like stacked on top of somebody else right now. There we go. Okay. So this idea would kind of work, and it's sort of how quests work. Quests are on a set path. So we have like 12 small blue potions, gives you your first worker. Then 5 yellow potions plus whatever it was, 5 boots or something. I think it's 8 and 5 boots gives you your second worker, and so on and so forth. We could make the customer desire system work sort of like that. The problem is that we don't know how long you're going to take to get to the next area. If crafting means I only need to wait 5 minutes to gain the gold I need versus waiting 20 minutes, then I call that a win. Yeah, I agree. I think that's for the sort of optimizer personality of the kind of person who plays this game. I think there are some people though who they don't tend to notice what's being held up in their town. Like I've seen a bunch of people play this way. In fact, some of the more recent people who've played, they've got, let's say they've got a couple adventurers and they're sending them to here. They're going to the volcano. Let me speed this up. Okay, so they're going to the volcano and they're winning these battles and they're getting this, which is worth 6, this which is worth 10, and then some small blue potions. So that on its own is worth 16 gold right there. And then they're like, oh, I have another adventurer. So they send them into the forest. And their forest character is just like pumping out small blue potions, which is just clogging their shops and not helping them at all. And they don't look at that and say like, I'm getting too many potions. I should just stop this battle. They just keep doing it. And then instead what they do is they leave feedback on the game saying, hey, you should give me tools for dealing with those potions and not prioritizing them. And in my mind, it's like the tools are already there in the game. It's like, just don't do that battle and instead get hardworking adventurers and put your character to use. So what I'm concerned about is there are going to be people who, let's say we add crafting to the game, for whatever reason, they either don't interact with the system or they don't do it well. And then they're like, wow, the game's really slow right now. And it's like, we need to make it fun and we need to make it sort of obvious. And the way we can make it obvious is by making it required. So like quests are pretty hard to ignore in the game. Most people feel like they want more workers and quests give you more workers. So once people have done one of these, they're like, I should do all of these. And I guess that's as close to making it required without actually making it required. Kept feeding those extra blue potions to the trash slime. Yeah, I'm not. I actually didn't have you in mind when I was thinking about this. There were some YouTube videos. I rarely see someone actually like analyze what's going on in their town and think what's needed. And a lot of times I'll see them talk about it, but then end up getting a different upgrade anyway. So like, oh, I have too many items here. They'll end up expanding their warehouse so that just more items accumulate rather than like, oh, how do I solve the consumption problem that's here? And it's like, oh, okay, I could get more customers. I could make them move faster. So yeah, the tools might be there, but players might not use them, and they might get mad at the game anyway. So I'm still not sold on the crafting system here that we have. But I want to see, is there anything I haven't explored of how we can kind of solve this problem? I guess this is why we bypassed this altogether. Maybe this is sort of why I went with rare items. Because what you choose doesn't really matter. In that case, it makes me feel like the treasure chest idea is probably best. Just have chests rarely drop from battles, and they drop more frequently from later battles, but the loot could always be the same. Or it could change. I don't know. Could be either one. Maybe you upgrade the possibilities from a mimic. Okay, that's kind of cool. Then you spend time opening the chests. Okay, so let's talk about this system for a bit. So the overview is something like this. You hire a mimic in town. They are a sentient treasure chest. You can now find not sentient treasure chests. So you can now find treasure chests from battle. Maybe there's a 15% chance that they drop. Then the chests need to be opened via lock picking, which takes time for your workers to do. And the chests result in some amount of loot, which you then sell. So this is a drastic simplification of a crafting system. And there are still maybe some choices you could have here. So perks could be increase the chance of chests dropping, increase the value of loot from the chests, speed up lock picking, probably some other things. And it kind of accomplishes the same general system. They're the same what am I trying to say? I don't know. Yeah, it does the same thing that crafting would do. But it's probably better. And now maybe we can answer these questions. So it's not craft item X over Y. It's like, why would I get this thing? Why would I hire the mimic? Just more money and less thought you have to put into it. So you just find treasure chests from battle. So can you craft many things at once? That's kind of not applicable anymore. Can you cancel a recipe? Not applicable. How does this impact your location choice? You still want the later locations because you'll find better treasure chests, or maybe you'll find them more often. How do you get out of a crafting recipe, or how much do you get out? So this is like how much you get out of a chest, however much to make it worthwhile. I mean, it's all extra anyway. Can you sell crafting reagents? It's not really applicable anymore. How does hard mode factor in? That's the only time you can find this. How do we keep this simple? This is actually pretty simple already. Is this fun? I think the chance of rare loot is fun. We'd have to talk about this a little bit more. What are your shops used for? Still selling items. And are rare items a thing? Yes, they are, in the form of treasure chests. And the treasure chests could lead to even rarer items that drop. So I think this is, despite everything I just talked about, this is like a pretty solid thing that we should probably try to flesh out now. This already sounds solid, and another hour of design can make it even better. It's simple, it sounds fun, and it's a new flavorful thing in town. Plus, I love the idea of your town kind of being filled out by both humans and monsters. If you think about it, I don't know if you'd call this a monster, but if you saw a slime in real life, you'd probably call it a monster. So you've got a couple of monsters helping you out with your town. You got a bunch of humans also in your shops. You've got a bunch of undead characters running your town. Your workers are all skeletons. And then as the game progresses, you start to find these more sort of fantastical creatures, like a golem joins your team, a mushroom joins your team. The spirit caller is like human-ish. They're probably like elvish or something. But yeah, the rest of the characters all look pretty human. So to get a mimic in town, like a treasure chest with fangs or something, I'm always kind of picturing the one from Super Mario RPG. There was a mimic in here. They're all kind of the same in games. It's like a treasure chest with teeth or fangs or a tongue or something. Yeah, this. Actually, they didn't even have teeth in this. Did they? Hang on a second. They truly not? Huh. They did not. Yeah, they were just eyeballs in a treasure chest. Well, yeah, their design doesn't matter too much. They're a sentient treasure chest, and that's what matters. So yeah, how do we make this even better? So I think we need to figure out what lock picking looks like. I really, really like the idea of treasure chest dropping. And I even think we have some treasure chests that we haven't used. Let me take a look, because I think we saw some in here somewhere. Unfortunately, it is very, very difficult to find. Oh, here we go. Free chests. Yeah. All right. Well, that wasn't that hard. And treasure chests are the kind of thing that making variations, should be pretty easy. Maybe we can change the color a bit. We can change the shape of it a bit. It's a box, right? It's not that hard to make more. And even the different ones that you see of these might signal to you that you're going to get certain items. So there could be different kinds of chests. But yeah, this is, I think, a great idea. We have, let me link to this. I'll just put this right in the document. We have many different chest graphics already, and seeing different ones could spark excitement. Mimi the Mimic. Not being names that present materialistic mimic. No, it had to be like, okay, so I love the name Garbage Slime because what they really their purpose is they're like a recycler. But we named them in sort of a derogatory fashion. The Chef Slime, we just never came up with something as punchy for it. But the Mimic, we'd probably invoke greed somehow. I call them like the okay, this is stupid, but like the greed cube or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to think about that some more. Hey Smurf, what about a jelly blob chest that contains other chests? Yeah, something like that could be done. I don't know if you're talking about for the mimic or just like a kind of treasure chest. But yeah, I think coming up with different treasure chests could be, there could be like a potion treasure chest that looks sort of like a potion or a cauldron. But this to me does not matter too much. If we never got new graphics, if we only had like this and this and this, and the blue one's unique, I guess. I guess these are technically unique as well. Okay, yeah, I guess all of these are unique. But we're already using this one in the game. So the only ones we're not using are the other 7. If we only had those 7, I think it'd still be fine. And as mentioned, like I can palette swap these things myself. I don't need artwork for that. I can just do this and change the hue. And look, now we have a green treasure chest. And now we have a, well, that looks ugly. Okay, well, anyway, we can make green and yeah, kind of in the green-blue spectrum. Beyond that, I need to change some colors, which, like I said, I could probably just do that. You could probably just handpick some colors here. That would look okay. And same thing for this sort of thing. We can pretty easily, whoops, what am I doing? We can pretty easily use the same shape here and just get something different. Yeah, a lot of these will still look good. We could just change their saturation too. Whoops. Anyway. Mimic slime, a slime in the shape of a chest. I mean, that could be kind of interesting. Could be a slime in the shape of a chest. For whatever reason, you're just getting lots of slimes. All right, so what is lock picking? Does lock picking take a reagent? Maybe it could take weapons. Just like how there's an extractor to turn potions into seeds and fish, there could be something that grinds weapons into lockpicks. I think that could be kind of interesting. Although I don't know if this is needed. So it'd only be needed if we need more of an item sink in the game. Also, whatever you're getting out of these treasure chests are probably just going to turn into lockpicks again. So it'd turn out that armors are the only things that have no other use in the game. Chubert. I really like that name. Has anyone? Yeah, okay. Apparently someone has used that name. But yeah, could be named something like Greed Slime or Chubert. Oops, all slimes. So do we need a reagent? Why did I do this for potions? I think it worked out well that I did it for potions. I'm just not totally sure why I did. I guess for a gold sink. Anything that takes items is essentially a gold sink. Item slash gold sink in the game. I'm so convinced that this is a good idea though. The overall thing. Like I'm glad we ditched crafting. And I think whatever caused me to pivot there, I think is the most important part of this. Yeah. I'm gonna put a star next to this too. Which means you should probably delete a star from whatever crafting thing we had. Well, this is still the case. Shops are for selling stuff, so it's, but yeah, that's fine too. It's a crafting NPC. Yeah, so we're getting rid of that. Okay. Don't want to ask why there's a bunch of sprites in the dock. Oh, just for inspiration, motivation, frame of reference. Had a pet slime before you died, and now it's bringing its whole family to help you out. I like that sort of trope in a lot of stories. Like some small act of kindness that you did a while ago purely out of just altruism came back and helped you out by a factor of 10. But I think the original Skeleseller story of like it was literally your first day of being an adventurer and you went out and died in your first battle and didn't really have time to make friends or anything. I think that's also funny. So the item sync, how important would this be? I guess there's one other thing this does. It doesn't just make an item sync. It also adds another manual action and another action that you either manually have to do or that your workers would pick up for you. Yeah, so that's the interesting part. Although lockpicking itself could take the action. Maybe you manually open the chest and there's no way for your workers to do it. Because it would be fun to open the chest. But if you can't idle and have them open anyway. Oh, you know what we could do? Although I'm not sure if this is fun, but maybe the treasure chests have a timer above them, and the more lockpicks you use, the lower that time goes. When it hits 0, the chests open. So you could just outright ignore the lockpicks. But then it would take longer to open the chest. Maybe you can only have so many treasure chests at once. And you can upgrade the storage for them. Maybe they go into your warehouse. Rolling for loot. It's just like every other game. There's nothing unique about this. Okay, so these are the very tough questions because you could see this working either way. It could literally just be that we just have the treasure chest. You find them from battle, you open them in town somewhere, and then you just get the items. And that's it. It's really basic. But I think turning this into a system unto itself is a better idea. Is it with a bigger timer a better loot then? Well, I was picturing in my head that they'd all just have like a 10-minute timer and that it wouldn't change ever. Or maybe you get a perk to change it. It goes down to 8 minutes. But yeah, it could be the better chests have higher timers. Could have different timers for different chests. Gonna get banned in the EU. Oh yeah, definitely. I think loot boxes are fine if they're just free in the game and there's no paid means for them. Because in essence, that's essentially what any monster in an RPG is, a loot box. Right? Like if I'm playing Diablo or Path of Exile or something like that and I kill, random monster X, it might drop 2 or 3 items. That's in essence what a loot box is. And yet that's happening like constantly throughout the game. I guess if anyone does have a gripe with that style of thing, it's that's potentially somewhat addictive. But I think it's this sort of inherent randomness of it that probably elevates that, the anticipation that you have and will I get a good item? But yeah, I think it can be bad when they're tied to real money. Like, oh, you have a 1% chance of getting the thing you actually want, so go spend $100 and hope that you roll the right thing. Yeah, loot pinatas. Also matters how you build the UI and experience around it. Yeah, and I think in the context of Skeleseller, at least, let me put it this way. I'm not concerned from the point of view of, is there some ethical problem with this? I don't think that exists in Skeleseller. So what we're trying to figure out, the main thing to figure out is how to make this whole system something fun and engaging. because it'll become the focus for the next hour or so of the game. Then for the final like 1 to 2 hours, you'll be using the systems that we made to beat the game. So if anything is new at that point, it's probably just adventurers and some remaining perks. Excuse me. That's weird. Is my monitor not updating anymore? No, it is. Huh, weird. OBS isn't showing. Do I have this hidden? Oh, you can't see OBS on screen right now, huh? I must have turned that feature off. I don't know why I did that, but... All right, well, anyway, I got to update OBS. I'll write it down for tomorrow. The OBS, and then I guess just move all this to Thursday. All right, I am very, very happy with how this is going. We still need to talk about this some more. So the idea of it taking a reagent, like I said, there'd be an item sync for this. So I don't actually think I care about the item sync. In fact, I'm not certain that I want it. I don't know if you need one more thing to manage. I think I'd prefer not having to create lockpicks. Maybe you buy them with... No, buying them with money wouldn't make sense though, right? By grinding up weapons. Since I think selling stuff is what's interesting here. Hey, Palman. So we probably don't need another item sync. We do need something for your workers to do, though. Also, quests can start to take items that come from treasure chests. Although that's another thing we got to consider here. All right, how about we move these questions up somewhere else? Yeah, there. Okay, so questions from the Mimic system. So what is the total set of artwork that we need? That's just an obvious question we need to answer no matter what. But how do we show where a quest item comes from if it's from a chest? It shouldn't be that hard to do. Like we say found in volcano. We could put found in chest in volcano or something like that. Yeah, I think we can just figure that out later. Hey, Pretzel. So wait, what spawned this whole thing? I know I was there in the stream where it happened, but was it like AI came up with this, or what was that specific like structure of message? Do you have different difficulties for lockpicking your chest? I'm not totally sure yet. All I've come up with is this so far. The overview of all of this: you hire a mimic in town, they're a treasure chest, maybe they're a slime. That part doesn't matter. This is all just flavor stuff. So you get a mimic in town. So you're gonna buy them. They're gonna cost whatever 500 gold. Now by having them, you can find treasure chests from battle, and then you can open the chests via lock picking, which we don't know what this looks like yet, and that just gives you loot. So that's it. That the idea is you get a thing that lets you find treasure chests, which you then have to open somehow. I don't know how the opening should work. And I sort of kind of like this idea of the chest will just automatically open after some time, but it takes time to do. There's some way for you to speed it up. And the reason you want to speed it up is because you can only have so many chests at a time. Lockpick takes reagent and 2 minutes of workers' work. I don't want to tie up the workers for that long. In fact, I guess it doesn't really make sense how chests are opening themselves. How to greet Adam? Then Google AI get different categories. Oh, I see. Okay. I like the backstory. So what are these timers exactly? Is this slime magically opening the chests? Chests are opening themselves because you asked nicely. So like they're all sentient? Yeah, maybe the slime can communicate with them to convince them to open. This is the kind of quirky explanation that I like for Skeleseller. So like that's it. Yeah, cool. You have a good enough reason. And the slime can even tell you this. Like, hi, I'm a treasure chest. I can talk to treasure chests. I can convince them to open. But you could also open them by trying to pick the locks. Yeah. So that's a cool idea. And I'm giving a point to Luna for sparking that idea. Because the asking them nicely thing, I think, okay, I'm gonna just literally copy paste what Luna said here because I think the slime saying I will ask them nicely to open, but it takes me time to convince them. What do we call this? Like mimic slime. I will ask them nicely to open themselves, but it takes me time to convince them. You can speed this up with lock picks. Although this suggests that it's like an aggressive action, right? If a treasure chest could talk and you were trying to pick its lock, wouldn't that be seen as like you violating the treasure chest? Such that if you failed at it, it'd probably increase the time. I don't think we're going to approach that topic. I think that's fine. When you're helpful by being unserious. I mean, it helped. It did. Change them for some treat which the chest would enjoy. Oh, okay. Okay. That's pretty good. Like wood polish. I mean, the only problem with that is we couldn't necessarily have it be not all the treasure chests are probably going to look like they're wood. So what would a treasure chest want? Maybe they want keys, but you're not using them to pick the chest. Sort of like how in fishing, you're not actually using a fishing rod at all. You're just battling the fish. Maybe they want keys. Why would they want keys, though? Sort of like how the fishing system doesn't involve a fishing rod in the game. Instead, as you battle them. I'm limiting my vocabulary from games and stuff. Okay, well, wait a second. The slime can talk to them and can convince them. Do we have a reason for why they'd want keys? Because maybe that's what helps convince them is the keys. Okay, does that help at all to use some like oblique, what if I were a treasure chest? What would I want? What would I want? I'd want treasure, right? So I wouldn't want to give up the treasure. I wouldn't want anyone to take my treasure. Or maybe I do. Maybe that's like the life of a treasure chest is to provide the treasure to people. So then maybe what I'd want is like someone else's. I'd want to be like stored in town or something or shipped around the world. You're buying them like plane tickets. Maybe they're like other treasures. That probably would make sense. Yeah, from a gameplay perspective, you can't give them the thing that you need. That's the other thing that I just struggled with there. So that I guess keys you don't need, but then why does a treasure chest need keys? Maybe to open other treasure chests. Maybe there's some like war amongst the chests. They open up to give you items that they give up items that you consider junk. No, it had to be they open up to give you items that they consider junk, right? Like maybe they want to be opened because they think that they contain junk. They think they contain junk. Like they're stuck shut. Then the keys are actually helping them. Something like that. Hey Cypher, you made a new account. Do you know that you can rename yourself on Twitch? Because if you only made a new account so that you could rename yourself, you could just follow the rename policy thing. Yeah, change name. Take a look at this. If I rename myself, Adam would have no idea who I am. This does generally happen. The harder thing for me is I used to stream pretty consistently from 2015 to 2020. And then there were people who renamed themselves and I knew who they were. And then in 2020, anyone who'd renamed themselves at roughly that time, and then I came back after 5 or not 5 years, 4 years, I guess, I forgot who they were. So yeah, that didn't work anymore. And Pressel learns live. I'd probably know who you are at that point. All right, well let's put a what's the thing? Put a pin in this for a second because I don't think this matters too much. But this is an interesting thought. Thinking about streaming again, and my old account was shared with my co-streamer, but we were dividing the channel and I decided to give them the other profile. I see. Well, that was nice of you. And yeah, welcome back to this stream. Okay, so is the timer idea a good one? Is the timer idea a good one? The gist of it is treasure chests will automatically open themselves after some time. You can only have so many chests at a time, and you can speed up the time using some reagent. Probably keys. So, is there a way that we can sort of gamify this? And it's sort of like how we did with the garbage slime. The garbage slime has a hunger meter, and if it's empty, then you don't want to feed the slime. So it's like a little bit of a balancing act between. Why are they? Oh, right, I'm fighting in the volcano. There we go. Yeah. All right. Well, let's speed this up a little bit so that they can clear out some items. This is gonna take forever, isn't it? I'll just do this. There we go. Now we got a bunch of customers. Those customers buy all the stuff. The slime should go back to getting hungry, and we did it. All right, yeah. So this mechanic, you feed it when it's hungry, it'll pay you more. Could we do something like that for this? I guess the timer thing is kind of that. Maybe you just click a treasure chest to apply a lockpick, and you can see how many lockpicks you have. But is there anything interesting for that? Like, wouldn't you just always want to use your lockpicks? It kind of turns into a clicker thing. The key thing kind of turns into a clicker game, which I'm not sure I like. Workers could also apply the keys. Yeah. Got sent to ad jail. No, I just said that was nice of you to give them your account. Kind of turns into a clicker game. Well, keys could be discrete items. That's the right version of discrete, right? I always forget. Yes. There's also the I'm like sneaking around kind of discrete, which is the two E's are together. What was I gonna look at this? Yeah, we should have a key item. Yeah, we have. Oh wow, we have lots of keys. Well, well, well. And we even have a skeleton key. Yeah, so we have 6 keys. Again, drawing different shapes of keys, I think, should be pretty fast. I don't even think we need more than 6. We don't have any other ones, right? I don't see any other ones. Okay. No biggie, I'll get him back. Yeah, that's kind of a shame. Yeah, keys could be discrete items. Should they be? I think so. That way we don't need some special UI. We just have the keys in your warehouse. The only issue would be if they clog your warehouse. and you can't spend them quickly enough. Because you can't sell a key. We don't need some special UI. Workers could still carry them. You could carry them. Lockpicks could have a chance to fail. A number of fails could result in the chest getting destroyed. I try to avoid the sort of more negative consequences in a game like this. Like, especially when you don't have control over it. Let's say there were a lockpicking mini game like Skyrim. Then I think it'd be okay. Like, you messed up, so it caused you to fail. But that's not how this game's going to work. So I think it just shouldn't fail. That way it still feels good. All right, so I don't know how to answer this question, though. What happens if you have too many keys in your warehouse? You would be able to drag them into slime, but no one would do that for you. Maybe you can only hold so many. There are like dedicated key slots. That could be it. Could be dedicated key slots in your warehouse. Okay, so what about this question? Should there be specific keys for each chest? Or will one key fit all of them? How do you get keys? What does the mimic building need to have? Like chest storage, key storage? Yeah, I love the idea of a key being a thing. Plus, we already have the graphics for them. Like, it only makes sense. And then we could just add it to the game right now. So how do we do this? We go add in an item category. Key equals 5. Item ID. We probably already have keys in here. No, we don't. Wait, how do we not? Are we skipping numbers? How many lines do we have? We have 183 and we have 176 of these. So that means we haven't really skipped anything. But then how? Hang on. Let me look at this. How many items do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's already 220. So no, we don't manifest everything. Okay, so then we just haven't manifested the keys. So we'll put a key in here somewhere. Again, this is just for testing. I'm not trying to actually put this in the game. We're not thinking about how I'm doing this. I'm just doing this. All item data. So now we have what? Fish. So we're going to put this in over here. Key. It is a key item. Display name is key. A key for the mimic. And then vector, we get its tile coordinate. So a fish was at 6, 0. The key is at 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7. Cool. Now let's have the forest, instead of dropping potions, drop keys. And then we're done. Hey, Goose. Who dis? What's that? It's a Dreads emote? I didn't know Dreads had a cat, or did I? All right, so now we just do this, and it should drop keys out of here. Nice. So now workers, I think, will pick them up. Will they? I'm not actually sure if they will. They do, but then what do they do with it? They bring it to the warehouse? And then they never touch it again? Hey, Holty. Ah, a dictionary. Has Wendy streamed since like a week and a half ago? And if so, has he been like, Adam shared the gospel of dictionaries? He was on today? Okay, yeah. Did he talk about dictionaries specifically? Okay, so yeah, here's the idea that I had. Let's say, I don't know, maybe the mimic goes up here. You would actually just drag the key to the treasure chest you want to unlock. And I guess as a result, there should probably be some variation between the treasure chest times. So you're picking which one to apply it to. Maybe there's even a mini game with the keys. Maybe the keys themselves are the mini game. Like one key could say reduce time by 20%. Another key could say reduce time by 1 minute. That way you have to pick which key is used where. Like that's a very minor thing. So if you have a treasure chest that has 10 minutes remaining, reducing it by 20% is actually taking 2 minutes off of it. But if it's got 5 minutes remaining, well, I guess you could use either key in that case. It's got 3 minutes remaining, then using this key is better. And yeah, maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. I was working, he was doing various things. He talked a bit about your teaching session in Discord though, and he was very happy with the information gleaned and the ridges chiseled into the gray matter. Nice, I'm glad. Yeah, he expressed his appreciation to me too, and I was glad to help. I feel a little bit bad because I know what it's like to learn technical things on stream and have chat spew all sorts of input. And sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes you got an expert in chat, they know what they're talking about. But even then, let's say you have an expert, there are kind of two ways that can go. One is they're a jerk or don't understand where you need help. And the other is they're just helpful. But yeah, it's hard being bombarded by stuff when you don't necessarily know what is supposed to be accepted or what's right. So yeah, I hope everything's going well with his new game. Did that for Unity. Yeah. Well, the other thing too is a lot of people want to be helpful, but they can't necessarily be helpful. So like if I see someone struggling with, I don't know, a car repair, it's like I'd want to help them, but I realistically can't do anything. I could hold a flashlight for them. I could be like, I can Google things for you. But if I try giving input without looking anything up, I'm just going to be producing noise. So I get that desire, and I see that in chat a bunch. It all depends on what you're learning too. Okay, I love the idea of keys being discrete items. I think this is great. And even just seeing it in the game right now, like the thought of dragging a key somewhere, just it makes sense. It'll be pretty clear how this works. And yeah, they could have different types. I think that's also pretty interesting. So we haven't answered how do you get keys? It could be that the mimic just produces them every so often. It could be that you have a weapon grinder that grinds your weapons down into keys. Could be that you get them from battle. I should stop writing. It could be. What else? How else would you get keys? I think that's pretty much it. You could buy them with gold. I don't think I like that idea. Yeah, Skeleseller. I don't think he's got a nose. 20 disparate ideas are being yelled at us. There's always, oh yeah, I know. Remember when Unity first blew up and everyone thought they were an expert within a week? So much information. I don't think I was around for when it first, well, I don't know when it blew up, I guess, but I think I first used it. Was it around in 2010? Game engine. I want to say I used it then. Yeah, I think I used it in 2010 for the first time. Maybe like 2009. So I don't know if it was popular back then, but I was pretty impressed by it. I never used a game engine of like that caliber. And I remember being impressed with it for about 5 years. And then they started really ratcheting up the business aspect. And I stopped being as impressed with it because as a game engine, it's probably still fine. As a business, I think there have been some questionable moves. So much wrong information about every game engine. that I I guess I'm not really exposed to it a lot. I bet if you search the internet for any topic, you'll find bad information. But in general, in forums posts and stuff, it's usually someone like, hey, I'm struggling with this. How should I do this? And someone will chime in with like a solution that they've done. I don't think it's necessarily bad information or wrong information. But anyway, it could be for sure. And it's certainly easier to produce a wrong answer than it is to produce a right answer for anything. All right, so what's the most sensible thing for getting keys? I'm kind of leaning toward this one, but this changes the economy of the game a little bit. So right now in the game, we have an extractor, this right here. And if I just do this and do, I can't do that. Okay, hold on. Let's just add some workers then and then speed this up. Take all the crops for me. Okay, great. Yeah, so the way the extractor works is when I drag a potion onto here, it will extract out some seeds and put them on the farm. So I have basically cost myself, like this thing is worth 10 gold. I have cost myself 10 gold in order to buy seeds. So we could do that for keys as well. You get keys by dumping weapons into a grinder. And the grinder could look exactly like this. And I think I'm leaning toward that. I'm leaning toward this because we already have the extractor. So this should be clear enough how it works. It could also have a lever on it to control automatic grinding of weapons. It acts as an item sink. And it's like spending gold. It's like spending gold. Just like how the farm/pond work. Could steal them from customers. So your workers are robbing the customers. Crazy amount of misinfo for just about every topic imaginable as astonishing. Yeah, okay, I guess this goes back to my whole, I'm not really exposed to this stuff. I never really got Twitter. Like, I understand what its purpose is, and I get why other people like it, but I never really understood it. It's like watching a genre of movie. You obviously understand what a movie is, but not every genre is for you. It's just that genre of website just didn't seem like it's up my alley. I didn't want to consume what other people are reading, and I didn't want to post my own stuff. So I just never really interacted with it a lot. And many times I thought, man, for marketing, I should try interacting. And I'd make posts or I'd try reading other stuff. And I'm like, I just don't like this. So that probably stopped me from seeing as much misinformation. Yeah. The same thing with Blue Sky. I tried for a long time to like read what other game devs were saying. And a lot of like, if I just go to Blue Sky right now, so I have a custom feed somehow. This is my own thing. If I go home and I don't totally know how I set this up. This is set dimensions. Yeah. So game dev. I don't know what this is. Someone made this and I don't know if it's like hashtags are being pulled in here or if it's specific people or something. But in general, if you just look at the number of hearts, like 2, 10, 1, 0, 3, 1, like these are not popular posts. And a lot of them are just trash. I don't know about these specific ones I'm showing. I haven't read them. I'm just scrolling down. But yeah, I scrolled through this feed for a bit and I'm just like this one, reply to this with a hi if you're a game dev. I'll follow you. Looking forward to exploring some game dev content. Is like, was this needed as a post? I mean, maybe. I don't know who this person is, but wouldn't you just like search for hashtags? And like, what does this mean? A dark day for game development today. What happened? I just don't find any of this valuable. I use Unity because I teach it and know it. On the tech side of things, it's really great to use. Yeah, like I said, I think as a product, I think it's pretty good. I think as a business, I think there have been... I think the most recent questionable move that I know of at least was their retroactive install fee. And I know they ousted that CEO, but I think this is kind of what happens with any like shareholder or profit first company, that you will eventually do things that are not in the best interest of your users. Hey, Ramu. Dark day for muffin baking today. And they're like, why is that, Ramu? It's like, well, it's just literally a dark day. There are a lot of clouds in the sky. Like, oh, okay. One like. then isn't nearly as popular as X or Instagram or any of those platforms. It might not be, but I think the general principle is there, which is like if there's value, you need to find the value, and finding the value may not be easy. Okay, so weapon grinder. So there is a problem here, which is like, what do you do if you have too many keys? Do you do if you have too many keys? So maybe it's just like the farm. You just can't produce more until you free up space. How do we communicate the chest spaces to people? Sell them? I don't want you to be able to sell keys. I guess you could always put them in the garbage slime, although that's only gonna give you 1 gold. Yeah, because keys themselves are not the item. Just to catch everyone up here. So here's the idea that we're talking about now. Where is it? Yeah, here. So you hire a thing in town that then gives you access to find treasure chests from battle. So most of the time you complete a battle and it says here I kind of cheated. Hang on a second. Let me do this. Okay, so most of the time you win a battle and you get sellable items, an armor, a potion, another potion, maybe a weapon. So those things are worth things immediately. They just directly go into your shop. You see your workers take them there. But once you get this new building, you'll be able to find treasure chests. And treasure chests on their own are not usable. You have to unlock them or wait for them to open themselves after, let's say, like 10 minutes. And unlocking them will lower the time by a bit. So you drag enough keys to the chest and it will lower it down. And then it'll finally open. I think this will work out pretty well for the game. So what was the question that we had here? What happens if you have too many keys? Yeah, I think this is the answer. You just can't produce them until you free up space. And then how do the chests make it to wherever they're supposed to be opened? How do the chests make it from battle to wherever they're supposed to go? So I think the how do you get keys, I am still leaning toward the weapon grinder thing. And then is there a problem with armor at that point? If we have a potion extractor and a weapon grinder, is there a problem with armor items not having a second purpose? We could just allow you to grind armors too. I don't know if I like that. Hey, Godzilla. It's probably from the big game dev list. Pretty much anyone can get themselves on that list. I think there are others that are more deliberate. Yeah, I haven't found much value in that list. And every once in a while I'll see like a game or a GIF or something that I think is pretty good. So it's not like there's nothing. It's just there's a lot of noise to the signal. You can introduce key tiers that reduce more time. Yeah. The key tiers thing, or maybe not tiers explicitly, but maybe just different keys. So you randomly get a key out of it, and it could be one of, I mean, we have 5 graphics. We can make some more graphics, but, oh, we have 6, I guess. We have 6 graphics, and maybe what I was thinking, and I think this would be a cool idea. Imagine if like key 1 is -1 minute from the chest timer. Key 2 is like -20% from the chest timer. Maybe key 3 is like plus 10% loot from the chest. Up to a max of 100% or something. And so on and so forth. So like keys can do different things. And maybe you have perks for the keys. So you can upgrade your flat reduction key and upgrade your percent reduction key. In fact, I got to write down the other idea that we had here. Key 1. Reduce time by 20%. Key 2, reduce time by 1M. Key 3, plus 10% loot to a max of plus 100%. Keys could then have perks associated with them. We need some other ideas. Maybe the skeleton key. Skeleton key is just immediate unlock. And we have 2 other key graphics, so we need to come up with 2 other effects if we want to use them both. Reduce time in a different way, reduce time in a different way. So we have 3 different ways of reducing the time. We have a way of increasing the loot maybe. And maybe that's it. Maybe we just use 4 of the key graphics. Yeah, that would be fine. Boost the next 2 keys used by 30%. The thing I got to think about is how this is going to be automated. So as an idea, I think it sounds good in isolation, but then you think about how this is going to work in the game. And like a character is going to need to walk this key over to the chest and put it in. So what if it walks it to a chest that only has like 5 seconds left and it essentially like wastes the key? Or what if it walks something over to something that has a minute left, but then increasing the value of your reduced time by a minute isn't effective at that point? Could I have a boss that appears randomly after so many fights in normal fights? I think that could potentially happen for one of the challenge modes. But the bosses in general are the only abilities or the only characters that have different abilities in the battle. And it's got to be sort of deliberate when you fight them. Otherwise, the mechanic would essentially equate to like every so often you have a fight, you'll probably lose. And if you win, you get better loot. And it might kind of feel bad that way. Refund currency depending on excess time wasted. Hang on one sec. I just thought of something from that. Chance to double a key's effect or not use the key. Increase potency of all keys. So yeah. Or just specific keys. If we want to milk it. Yeah, I don't want this to be too complex a system. I already think we're bordering on that. So what we're talking about so far is adding in a weapon grinder, and you put in weapons and get keys out at some point. Then battles can drop chests. The chests have timers that automatically go down to 0. When it's 0, they open and give you loot. You can use keys to lower them to 0 faster. Yeah, I so much of this is going to work for the game. I can just already see it. And we just need to figure out these little decision points. And that'll just involve some playtesting, which we have set up for. And I think this can be it. This can be what carries the game over the finish line, basically. Like, you play through the first half of the game, and you're just finding straight-up items. So when you beat the volcano, you get a cloak and you get a couple potions, right? But then eventually, you end up beating the final location, and now you repeat the locations, but now you're finding treasure chests in addition to some of these items. And the treasure chests open up into more valuable loot, but you need to interact with this new system to do it. So yeah, I like that. Should chests be some relocatable thing? Yeah, Appleseed. All right, so how do you get keys? I think we've answered this. I think this is fine. I think we'll go with the weapon grinder for now. We'll see how that works. And I should probably write that as a note to convince myself in the future. Note, we should at least start with this and see how it feels. How do the chests make it from battle to wherever they're supposed to go? So option 1 is they just appear at their destination, sort of like how the warehouse works. Option 2, they're a discrete item that you have to move to their destination. I kind of like this as an option. Again, we're trying to give your workers more work to do because you'll have a lot of them and you already don't have a ton for them to do. Do we have a treasure chest here? We don't. That's fine because we have the treasure chest in the other graphics, which I think I have open. Yeah. So these could be discrete items, except for how big are they? I don't know the size of one of these things. I guess because they can open, they can be a different size. But how big is just this graphic? 18 by 18. Okay, so they're probably 16 by 16 then. Let me just try to get the bounding box on this one, which looks like it's maybe a little larger. This is 16 by 17. Okay, so they're slightly larger than normal items, which I think are all 16 by 16. Let's get this. I missed by 1 pixel. Yeah, 16 by 16. It'd be more obvious if I took something like this one, I guess. All right, well, whatever. They're 16 by 16. This is technically not, but it's not so far off that I think we'll have a problem. Yeah. Is there anything that's taller than that one? No, they're all the same graphic. Except for this, I guess. But that's not taller than the other one. This one is 16 by 16, I bet. It's actually technically 17 by 16 because of the shadow. But items don't cast a shadow, do they? No. So we might need to change these graphics slightly to not have the shadow. In which case, actually, did I get that right? No, it is still 16 by 17. If I don't count the shadow. Because of these 2 pixels up here. All right, well, not a problem. Got a bit of an item imbalance. Yeah, that's what I'd written down here. Do we... Where is it? Yeah, this. Is there a problem with not having armor items have a second purpose? And then what do we do about that? Because, yeah, maybe we don't do anything. I don't know. Maybe workers move slower when dragging these. Maybe workers don't carry these. They drag them. And maybe workers move slower when dragging these. Yeah. I kind of like that idea too. Like the chest just follows behind the worker, sort of like in A Link to the Past. Big treasure chest. Where was that? Or no, it wasn't the big treasure chest. It was the sword chest that followed behind you, right? I don't know how to search for that because I don't remember the name of that. Sword chest? That one. Yeah. What did they... There's no picture. There was just the one video. Yeah, that's kind of like where the chest is. Okay, well, I can't find an easy thing. But yeah, just imagine a treasure. Oh, there it is. Imagine a treasure chest falling behind the characters. I think it makes sense. Although it wouldn't... I guess if they're dragging it, it wouldn't look like they're dragging it at that point. So maybe they are carrying it. So yeah, never mind. Okay. Maybe they move slower when carrying these, yeah. I don't think dragging would make sense without different graphics. Okay, cool. I'm glad I talked about that. So the destination, we don't necessarily want the destination to be super close then. Like nothing stops us from putting it down here in the bottom left and making your workers walk really far to get there. Although you'll have the quick move menu. We probably need to modify that too. Do we need to modify the quick move menu for this? Hey, Get Butler. Is this Caleb? Oh, wrong user. Okay, I'm guessing yes. So you bring them to their destination. So what happens if there is no destination? Yeah, that's going to be a problem. What happens if there is no empty slot at the destination? How do slots for... So normally, or I guess with regular items, this would result in the character waiting there unless you got the garbage time perk. Oh yeah, can you drag chess? I don't see why not, I guess. They can move backwards facing the chest they're dragging, then the movement itself would be drag, stop for a moment, drag, stop. Yeah, but we don't have, we still need some kind of graphic, right? Imagine a character walking backwards. Well, maybe we did. Maybe we don't. It might be convincing enough. But yeah, I'll write that down just in case we end up doing that. Do you have a texture for a chain or a rope? Could make the chest tied around their waist. That way they could keep moving. Yeah, that probably wouldn't be too bad to do either. I think just having them carry it is probably fine. And I think it'll be clear that like, oh, this is a heavy item. So I think that on its own will be fine. It'll also be easier to code because we don't have to do anything special. They'll just carry a chest above their heads. Like we just added the key graphic into the game. We can do that pretty easily for the chest as well. The other thing we could do is maybe make it so that this is just 16 by 16 and just chop off the top 2 pixels. Although I think that would look weird. It's not that weird. But I think it would look weird if those 2 pixels reappeared when they dropped it. Although then again, you know what we could do? We could just lower those 2 pixels, right? I just move this to there. Yeah, that looks fine. Well, we'll figure that out. The graphic itself, we can come to some conclusion about. So what do we do about this problem? What happens if there's no empty slot at the destination? We could specifically prevent this from happening. Maybe, oh, you know what we could do? Maybe, excuse me, you have like active treasure chests and then a storage area for them. No, but what happens, I guess there's another problem here, which is what happens if a treasure chest has no destination? It is just stuck on the ground. Maybe they do go to the garbage slime with it. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's probably what we should do. Yeah, maybe the garbage slime can just eat these, and it's more of an incentive to open the chest if you see you're losing them. I like that. Work browser profile on my work laptop. I'm doing well. I'm feeling pretty good about today. Man, there's definitely something to be said. If anyone's ever stuck with any creative endeavor, like put some thought into it and then just wait. And then keep repeating that. Repeat until you're successful. But seriously, this is, even from books that I've read about just the act of being creative, it is some amount of have 2 different brains, have your creative brain and have your editor brain, and just create stuff. And then later see, is this good? And what can I prune down? And then also just take some time, you know, think about it, come back after a week, try not to even remember what you did, come up with it anew and see what you do. Makes it extra punishing to drag it all the way back to the workshop of slime. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. If they're moving slower and now they have to go to the slime with it, you'd be like, no, stop it. I want to take that from you. The only potential issue is that your workers may move slowly enough that when you see them go to the garbage slime, you may want to take the chest from them. Yeah. I whispered you a doc about equipment. If you can share that later off screen first, I really need to go. Yeah, I'll take a look. Or check that later. Sorry, I think I said share. Yeah, I'll write that down. Glad you're doing well. Had some fun playing today with some ideas for managing many Claude code instances at one time. Nice. Yeah, I meet up with a friend every so often, and we met yesterday, and he's very into AI. And I forgot what his exact phrasing was. He said it's something like it's really good for mundane utility. So there are a lot of tasks that as a human you don't want to do, and AI is very good at them now. And as an example, like autocomplete. Who wants to type "what are you doing" completely? You probably just want to type "what" and then "a," and then just tap, and you have the rest of your sentence there. That's not AI, but that's still something that it's like, it's just mundane. There's no creativity in typing that. You're not remiss if the AI comes up with something slightly different typically. So yeah, there's a lot of coding tasks that fall into that bucket. A lot of boilerplate code, or maybe refactoring or writing unit tests. Maybe we even allow that to happen. Okay, so I think we answered this question. What do you do if you have too many keys? Have we answered that question? Maybe it's just like the farm. You can't produce more until you free up space. Yeah, but that means that there has to be a key holder. So I guess the weapon grinder comes with some key slots. And I further guess, how should we do that? How should the key slots work? I guess they'd only hold keys. This implies the existence of key slots that can only hold keys. And can keys stack? If keys can stack, there might be a problem here, because what if you only want to use one at a time? Maybe we always just say that the key only makes you use one at a time. But then what happens when a worker brings 3? Yeah, that's going to be a problem too. Yeah, okay, so how does stacking work with keys? How does stacking work with keys? Simplest, it doesn't. If it does work, then workers may try bringing 3 keys at once to a chest. Maybe that's fine. Item destinations can say accept 1 only. That already works. They can, yeah. But when a worker's holding 3, I guess they could just drop 1 off at a time. Maybe they just drop 1 off at a time and then find a new destination based on their key. So then how does it work for you? Yeah, maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's the same way with you. Yeah, okay. I'm reasonably confident that that sounds fine. I have an AI write unit tests all day if it's reliable. I think the reliability is important, but I think the other aspect is like how much time would it save you for AI to write like 90% of a reliable test? So if it were writing 10%, it'd be a waste of time probably, because you have to review what it wrote, which is probably costing you more than just doing the 10% yourself. But at 90%, it's like, oh, I only have to clean up a little bit and just be in review mode, and you can test it out yourself too. So there's some, I'm not saying it's at 90% already and it's probably past 10%, but there's somewhere here where the equation works out to a net gain. And it's hard to say where that would be. But it doesn't need to fully do the task on its own for it to pay off. Have you tried open code? I just used cursor agents now, but looking to better my workflow and was eyeing this in Claude Code. I have not tried that. Yeah, I haven't tried this. To be honest, I haven't looked into this stuff a whole lot, and I don't think I'm going to have time in the next few months. I feel like Skeleseller stuff ramped up greatly, and it's going to ramp up again with playtesting. So Next Fest on its own didn't do a whole lot, but then I started marketing and then it ramped up. And now we're going to get into playtesting, and I'm going to get probably a lot of like bug reports that I got to sift through, ask for more details, etc. So I feel like for the next 3 months, I'm just going to be slammed with stuff to do. And it's spending more time troubleshooting AI than AI troubleshooting for me. So I work for it some way. Yeah, I think workflows, as they get more mature, you'll probably have AI running your tools and then iterating on stuff itself so that it can make sure its unit tests are actually compiling and working, and then you're validating that they do what you think they should do. It's like PR review at that point. All right, so yeah, what do we do if you have too many keys? I think we started to talk about this, and then my problem was that I talked about stacking. So this implies the existence of key displays that can only hold keys. I think that's fine. Maybe you can even get more through a perk. Stacking is going to be also super important. I think we made item stacking too powerful. And I've now heard from a bunch of people what they expected it to do. What people expected, let me click grant most things here. So let's say something's stacked. So we have these 3 keys. Actually, let's just do it with swords. So let's say this was a shop. What people expected is that a customer would go up and buy 1 at a time. So all you're doing is you're making shops sort of expand how many items that they're showing at once. But that's not what happens. What happens is that a customer will go up and buy the entirety of the stack all at once. So if I speed this up, customer comes over here, bought 480 gold worth of swords. Wait, why was it that valuable? Oh, those are the dragon swords, right? Do they have the same graphic? I don't even think I noticed that. Are those dragon swords? No, they're different. One's on fire and one's not. Okay, yeah, they just look very similar. Yeah, so what we could do is we could split up item stacking, and people were suggesting this originally, and I'm like, look, for the demo, it doesn't matter. But yeah, now that we're talking about launch, I think it will matter. We could split up stacking so that it is like customers will buy an entire stack. That could just be its own upgrade. And then we could also have one that keys stack. And yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, how will the quick move menu work for this? Because you have many destinations. I hadn't thought about that either. Maybe it just picks the best one, like a worker was doing it. Keys have many destinations. It could just apply the worker logic and move one key to the best possible location. But you'd probably want to control that. All right, have we answered everything that I had so far? What do you do here with too many keys? So that we've already answered. So that's done. How does stacking work for keys? So anyone can carry the whole stack, but when it comes to using the keys, the carrier only uses one at a time. For workers, this means, oh, God, there's so much to consider here. The worker might be carrying 3 keys and then use one to open a chest and then have no more chests. And then what do? They go sell their keys? This is going to make so many people mad. They may be carrying 3 and use all 3 on separate chests. It also means that they can run out of chests to use them on. At which point, what happens? They put them back in the original slots, but there might not be a slot. Did I write that down? There's still an issue where you're... Hold it. Can you put them in your warehouse? Maybe we let you do that. Can you put a key in your warehouse? I don't see why not. Shrug. All right, there's still an issue where you're holding a key, where you or a skeleton has a key, where you or a skeleton have a key and yet, but no chest. If a worker has a key in that case, they would trash it for almost no value. Because of waiting 30 minutes for someone to cycle from a restaurant to my front door. Feels like the slowest thing ever. Gotta order your food 29 minutes sooner. Ones have all asserts that only check instances of items the test built itself. 100% pass rate. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong there. Are you going to bring back the vault to save keys there? If so, quick move could just move them there, but you need to move them yourself to activate them. I don't think so, because workers need to be able to access keys. So all that would do is let you have a space that only you could access the keys. But it is something we could write down. Should we reintroduce the vault? Maybe it makes sense for storing keys or rare items. The problem is once we add a vault, it's very hard to remove. We'd have to invalidate save files, or we need to write a migration that tries moving them into the warehouse, but what happens if the warehouse doesn't have space and they fall on the ground and they disappear? So if we introduce the vault, we should be very certain that we're going to keep it. And we talked about a museum a while ago. We could have the concept of rare items on display, and that's kind of your vault. Not sure. Are keys entities that can have use counts? They could. I don't think I'd want them to. Keys can stack, and I think one use per key makes the most sense. They're not so rare that their existence is going to be a problem. Oh wow, that's a thing we are going to have to fix. This customer wants a key. I never even thought about that. All right, let's just write that down as a to-do item. Wow, I'm glad we found that right now. Bug customers can want keys. We need to stop that. How is it even a thing that happened? Why don't they want crops? Wait, maybe they do want crops, and this is a bug with everything, and I just only experienced this now? So hold on, how do we even repro this? We gotta have adventurers go seek out the crops and then make them go battle. Did I do this? Yes. And then this drops on the ground, and we need to put it inside the... Okay, so let's return the title. Hey, Joka. Just make keys be food. All right, so we need the warehouse. We need the farm. We need crops. We need this thing, and we need this to make adventurers move stuff. And then we take our cleric, and once they go pick up a crop, we make them start a battle. Done. Then we drag the crop over to here. And now when they win this battle, we'll have a couple of items. So we have keys and we have a carrot. Now we go get as many customers as we can get, which is not going to be many. It's only a couple. And then we speed this up. So what happens? Do customers ask for carrots now? It might take a long time. They ask for a key. That one asked for a key as well. They might be specifically coded to not want food. I mean, at this point, let's just look at the code for it. Do we have crop written here? Is that even an item category? It's called food. Seek specific item. This is what finds choose item. Get non-rare seen item as IDs. It makes it seem like they can find carrots, but they haven't found it yet. I want to mark something as seen. Oh, it's got to drop from an instance. I think that's why. And the keys did, but they won't in the future. It should just be a matter of not dropping them from instances, which means the real bug is that customers will want treasure chests. So we should stop that. Why do we even have this thing? Seen items tracker? What does this exist for? Oh, okay. Okay. Probably just shouldn't have this go there. Gonna need to modify the seen items tracker or users of it. I never saw crops being requested. They just took the carrot. What I mean is you would have had to do that repro that I just did. So you have an adventurer go pick up a crop. Then before they can bring it to the slime, you send them to the portal. And then when they get to the portal, they drop the crop on the ground. And then you can drag it actually to the garbage slime if you want to, or you could put it in your warehouse. But it's not gonna do anything. I didn't know if it would break customers. It turns out it doesn't. Don't you need to put it in the shop for it to be considered desires? No, you just need to have found it from a battle. That's why keys can be desired right now. They can't go into shops. But they are dropped from battle. Anyway, what was the thing I was coming up with here? How does stacking work with keys? Oh yeah, so we haven't figured out what happens here. What happens if you have a key but no chest? We could just have the workers wait there. But then that means you'll have to find a chest. There aren't many options. Option 1, follow garbage time and have the worker trash it after waiting for 5 seconds. Option 2, Have the worker wait until a chest is there again. This may never happen, but almost certainly would. For it to not happen means you pretty much stop playing the game. Option 3 would be try to prevent this from happening. I don't think that's possible though, is it? Try to have them put it back where it came from or in the warehouse. But then your warehouse can fill up with keys. Maybe they try taking it from the warehouse first. Workers would need to pull keys from the warehouse first. Or just eventually. Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. All right, let's just star that one for now. Let's move on to the next thing. So how does stacking work? I think we fully answered this. So anyone can carry the whole stack, but when it comes to using the keys, the carrier only uses one at a time. For workers, this means they may be carrying 3 and use all 3 on separate chests. Also means they can run out of chests to use them on, in which case they'll bring the keys back to the warehouse or key storage place. Okay. So weapon grinder, key storage, chest storage, perks board. If we have a potion extractor and a weapon grinder, is there a problem with armor items not having a second purpose? Option 1, no. Option 2, yes. All right, what is the take on this? You don't always have a means of deleting your potions and weapons in this way. As an example, if your farm is full, so let's say we fill this entire thing up and then we give ourselves a potion and we try putting it in the extractor, it says the farm already has seeds on all plots. Same thing with a weapon grinder. If you already have, let's say you can store 4 keys and you have 4 keys, it's going to say the key storage is full. So they're not infinite item sinks. Or, well, not at any point, they're not infinite. They are technically infinite over the course of the entire game. I guess if you just keep playing, you can keep putting items in. So armor items, not having an item sink at all for them is probably okay. So our real option is we say, no, it's not a problem, or we say, yes, it's a problem. And then option like 2A would be make an item sink for them, or change the drop rate. Make an armor sink, I guess. Or change the drop rate of armors to try to prevent this from being a problem. I'm leaning toward option 1 though. It's just, we just say, yep, nope, it's not a problem. Wasn't a problem before this. We only had a potion extractor and no weapons or armor extractors. So now we have a potion and a weapon extractor, but no armor extractor. Is that an issue? I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're just gonna go with this. Rationale, we currently have a potion extractor, but nothing else, and don't consider that to be a problem. So I don't see why this has to matter with when it's potions and weapons. Okay, cool. How do we communicate the chest spaces to people? So the idea was something like you have a mimic and you have like 4 chest slots or something. And when they are filled, you'll see the timers above them and they'll start to tick down. Did we say that we have chest storage on top of that? No, they'll just go back to the garbage slime and dump it off. I think we just have the building, have the mimic in the middle. That could be a good name for a TV show starring the mimic. Mimic in the middle. Have the mimic in the middle and maybe like 4 chest slots around them. When a chest is on one of the slots. Do we have a graphic that looks like it would fit for that? Maybe something in the marketplace one? Like a place where you would put a treasure chest. Maybe one of these. But it would look kind of similar to the enchanter, wouldn't it? Yeah, the enchanter has these podiums. I kind of want to use these again. We have green, red, and blue. Do we have another color here? Well, it's not really a color that I need to know about. It's do we have another like style? Yeah, we have the purplish one. Wait, you can never see underneath the enchanter tables though. The books are there no matter what. And you can open them, but you can't see beneath them. So you never know what this looks like empty. So you can't actually see the design. So whatever design we came up with would look like it's unique. All right, yeah, I think putting them on those little podium things would probably be okay. When a chest is on one of the slots, you see a timer above it, counting down. Chests would have a tooltip explaining how everything works. And then for a graphic, we could use the enchanter podiums. And maybe have them all use the purple color. Yeah, that would be reasonable. Potion extractor was less obvious because potions were the first item and you naturally would get access potions to dump. Weapons are gathered after armor, and I wonder if you'll get flooded with armor while being in need of weapons. So let's say you are, though. That's why this perk exists. Garbage time. When a worker or adventurer is waiting at a shop with an item for 5 seconds, they'll instead feed that to the garbage slime. So let's say you do have a bunch of armors over here and they're just standing around waiting. They'll just come over to the slime and feed them. So we are probably going to run into another issue here, which I should probably write down. How do we make sure rare items are... Wait, did we even talk about rare items? I don't think we did. Maybe there's no concept of rare items anymore. Maybe they're all just items and they have different values. And their rarity is... Okay, I guess this is like asking someone, what is luck? Can you be a lucky person? There's no innate luck value, most sort of non-superstitious people would say. And yet, if let's say you roll a die 10 times and you get a 6 every time, and then that got you $1 million or something, like, kind of consider yourself lucky. So there's like luck is an innate trait versus luck in hindsight. What this has to do with here is rare items could either be rare because they're a category exposed to the player, or rare just because they have a low drop chance. So category exposed to the player here could be boss items. We have Ogre Blood and we have the Dragon Sword in the game. These are like a special category of item that they're rare because there's literally only one in the game. And we're probably going to eventually remove the ability for you to fight the bosses another time. So yeah, there'd be one. So they are like rare by definition. But do we need some concept of... Yeah, okay. I think I'm convincing myself that we don't. Do explicitly rare items need to exist? I don't think they do. I think items can just have a low drop chance out of treasure chests. There can be a lot of like filler loot in there. And then our cooler looking graphics with a 5% chance to drop. But then the issue, how do we make sure rare items are like sold in the way that you want? Do people need a loot filter or something? Especially because once you have many varieties of items, stacking is not as important. Does items... Do rare items sort of invalidate item stacking? Like, how do we balance the variety of items out of chests? There are a lot of questions to answer for this stuff. All right, so as far as communicating this to people, I think this is clear enough. Yeah. What does the mimic building need to have? The weapon grinder, key storage, chest storage, perks board. Yeah, sure. Should there be specific keys for each chest, or will one key fit all of them? So we're saying one key fits all. Yeah, I don't think there should be any other thing for that. All keys work. Oh, what happened there? All keys work in all chests. And then we could say different chests have different timers. Yeah, different chests can have different timers. They don't even necessarily have to be related to the chest itself. Could just be purely random. Like 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And we just don't expect you to ever take 20 minutes getting there. Because you'll have found a bunch of keys in that time. Or maybe like 7 minutes to 15 or something. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers. This isn't a huge design point. We can obviously change this pretty easily. So just test stuff out. Food has arrived. What did you order? All I know is it was delivered by bike. I'll take one bike tire, please. I have just the thing. I don't think they do. I think items can just have this. So we probably need to say, where is this? Critical eat. This says no rare items only receive half the extra value. So we probably need to change the string. Probably need to change the string that says this to mention items from elites. Probably also just stop having crit work for those all together. I always go for the handlebars. I got a chicken burger. Nice. Thoughts on using a shifting bias to mitigate lucky or unlucky streaks for the drop rates? Drop rates of treasure chests? I don't think it's going to matter too much. Because if you think about it, every treasure chest is going to have an average value. So let's say a chest has an average value of like 500 gold. And let's say the max you could get could be 1500 gold or something. Maybe you got super lucky with the drops. It's like, I think that'll just make that event feel more exciting. Whereas I think shifting biases work for when you're trying to fill out a collection of some sort. So let's say you have a set of like 10 legendary items and each one has a 1% chance to drop. It's pretty frustrating to have to collect like 1,000 of these things just to get all of the legendary items. So you probably do put some kind of mercy timer on there and say like after 50 rolls of not getting an item, drop a unique one for you. So that I could see happening. But when they're just money in the end, I don't really think you need some kind of mercy timer here, especially because it's an idle game. All right, so we answered all this stuff. That's fine. I don't think they do. Yep, that's good. Okay, so how do we make sure rare items are sold in the way that you want? Do people need a loot filter or something? So rare items don't really exist. I guess they're just more valuable items. I guess we should write it that way. How do we make sure valuable items are sold in the way that you want? Do rare items sort of invalidate stacking? How do we balance a variety of items out of chests? I think what we should probably do is make it so that a chest can only drop so many unique kinds of items. So instead of dropping 2 of that one, 3 of that one, 2 of that one, 4 of another one, it's like it just drops 8 of the first one and 6 of the second one. We should probably limit the number of unique items that can drop from a chest. A chest should probably have some internal gold value for the items within. So we would do something like this. Well, we do something like what we had for quest generation. In fact, I think we even have a README for deleted code. Deleted code quest generation. Is this it? This isn't it. This is for the stat bonuses. Oh man, we used to have it somewhere. I think it was in quest.cs. Let me see if I can find it. I want to look at the history of this file. Revamp quest. It was probably this. So we probably want, where did the code go? Here it is, generate next quest data. We had a gold target somewhere. Here it is, gold target. And we would make a new quest data out of it. So quest data must have had that code. Just search for gold target. Wait a sec. This isn't the code I want. Oh, because we're returning quest data. Something's got to use this, though. What do we call it? We called it gold target, but then I can't find anywhere the gold target existed. Oh, maybe because it was code that was already in the tavern and didn't end up changing from this? Oh, yeah, because we didn't revamp that part of it in this commit. We revamped that later when we made them use constant values. So somewhere in here, we should see, if I just do this, we should see the tavern. Tavern, there it is. And if I just click view file, I believe we have gold target in here. We don't. Where did this happen from? Oh man, I don't know. All right, what's written here? Remove cloning, remove stat bonuses, got rid of reward points, got rid of infinite quests. Was it the item bin? I don't think so. I don't know we use gold target in here. You know, we could probably just look at this commit and search this commit for things. How do we do that? Parent here. I think, can we search the parent at this commit for just gold target? Search syntax tips. GitHub search repo specific commit. I don't want to search. Yeah, this one. This is what I want. Wouldn't a simple this do the trick? Would it? Can I just search this and know that I'm searching at the commit that I'm on? No, although now I'm realizing that this is a problem. Okay, let's just write that down quickly. So quest data has gold target still, even though, or a comment for it. Yeah, the commit, you can plug that in the URL in place of the branch, I believe. It looks like I'm maybe searching this commit, in which case I'm searching the wrong thing. I don't know. C989. No, they're different. This is not searching the same thing. And this was 3.8 anyway. All right, well, I want this commit, and I want to find out how we search for that. Where's the search? Gold target. Can you write commit colon whatever? I don't know how to do that, man. They mention a SHA in here? No. Seriously? Advanced search? Oh my goodness, this might be what I want. Can I type a SHA in here or commit here? You really can't? There's got to be a way to do this, right? Oh, they didn't answer the question apparently. Use a standard or advanced search by adding commit colon whatever. I did that. Type equals code also works. This only seems to search for commits with a given SHA. I want to search the repo at a given commit. Not the date range. GitHub's the only option to set that. Oh man, I don't want to bother with this anymore. Type equals code works. This is available in the UI. So I need to search with, where the search go? I need to search with like commit colon this and then type code. I don't think that's going to do it. Unrecognized qualifier. Yeah, it doesn't know how to do commit colon whatever. Is this what you wanted? Yes. Oh man. All right, well, whatever. I'll link to this. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I wonder how I was supposed to find that without knowing where this was in the code. We could do something like we did for quest for gold target and then put a reference link in. Yeah, and then how do the economics of this work out? You're going to be churning through a bunch of weapons to get keys. And if you don't churn through those weapons, then it'll just lower your gold per minute anyway because you won't be opening the chest quickly enough and you'll be wasting some. So chests need to drop a lot of ideas. Chests need to drop enough to offset the number of weapons ground into keys to speed up their opening and the amount of time it probably took. Well, the time is probably going to be a minimal portion of this. Yeah. Anything else? How do we show where a quest item comes from if it's a chest? All right, so quests. I think quests should start taking item drops from chests. And on the quest progress board, we can say what kind of chest an item is from or where to farm at least. It's all that really matters to a player. Then again, you won't necessarily know which chest came from where. So maybe then what we should do is we say there are like 7 chests in the game or something. This one, and then these 4 at the, oh wait, no, sorry, these 4 at the bottom. So you can only find like 4 of them. Or maybe they're all just this one, but they're different colors or something. Maybe some of these are rarer. And oh, but I guess if you can ever find different chests, then you might have ones that you're like, oh, that's not as valuable. Let's get rid of that. And we don't have a way of you getting rid of them. Yeah, what happens if you're finding too many? I think I wrote that down somewhere. Where did I write that down? Yeah, this. What happens if a treasure chest is just stuck on the ground? Okay, we also have an issue where you're finding too many treasure chests and may want to reject one that you've already partially opened. At that point, I don't see an issue with letting you move it to the garbage slime. People will probably want loot filtering to automate this process. But I suppose different locations can drop different chests. This is going to take a lot of balancing to figure out like what's the right drop rate for this stuff. But I like a lot of what this is doing for the game, at least. I guess we should still have the concept of rare items that customers don't want. I should write that down too. You need to make sure customers don't desire ultra rare items. Like chests should have some concept of guaranteed drops and then rare drops. Or standard drops. There was something else that came up as I was thinking about that. Oh yeah, how do chests drop at all? Chests drop at all. Does each location have a chance to drop any chest, and the chances increase as you go to more difficult locations? I think chests should be standardized somehow. If we have 7 chests, then chest 1 has its own loot table, which is always the same. Chest 2 has a separate loot table, but that's always the same, etc. That way you can generally know how much a chest is worth by looking at it. It also lets us separate the drops by location. And then each location should have something like this. Like a 5, I don't know what, maybe like a 3% chance to drop the like a bad chest, and a 1% chance to drop a good chest. So what happens if you can never beat the like the first place that can drop a chest? What happens if you can beat that super quickly and you just farm that place for chests and then you never need to go to a farther location? Best I can find is get log-s gold target. I see. Yeah. Yeah, in this case we knew we knew the code. I guess we need to know something to search for it in the scenario I wanted. How do we balance chests and their loot? Chests themselves. Oh, you know what we could do? We could make it so that you can't farm locations for them. Like prevent you from dropping too many of them at a time. I'm slightly worried that players will loop back to the forest again in hard mode and then farm that over and over with super fast battles to get tons of bad chests, but they're still way better than farming later instances for good chests. You could limit how often chests can drop from a given location. I don't think that would feel good. Especially if it's hidden. And we could make it so that loot from later chests really scales up. Forest chest may be worth, let's say, 700 gold. But the final chest may be worth like 10,000. Could also say you only get up to N chests in town at a given time. X that you're unlocking plus Y queued for it. I don't think the storage is the problem, if I'm understanding you correctly. I think the issue that I'd have here is, like, I guess to put it in terms of this, what if someone only ever farmed in the forest because they're like, it's good enough, and they just ignore all the other locations and max out their level here, and then they're finally like, okay, now let's start unlocking the other locations, but they don't actually really need to fight there. They just need to beat it once and move on. So your acquisition rate would be what impacts you, and not how many chests you could store. Because if you're always getting a new chest like once every 20 seconds or something, then that's what would be the problem. And the reason I'm concerned about this is because right now, if I were to send a character into the forest when they're over leveled for it, like let's say we send the rogue in, and let's say I also upgrade the rogue. So let's say we just give them these skill points. Because this is what I was doing in my potion only run. So now I send them into battle, and it gets done in 0.4 seconds. This is what I'm concerned with. That they're just battling so fast. And by the way, you could just click repeat, and that way you don't even have to wait for the auto repeat thing to happen. So we just like spammed our town with the key drops here. If you can only get 5, wouldn't you prefer to get the good ones, or was the idea that the same chests drop everywhere? You would prefer to get the good ones if you can only get 5, but you can always just ditch them and drop them into the garbage slime. And maybe we don't let you do that, but then how would you get rid of a chest? Yeah, maybe we just don't let you do that, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to think about that a little bit. Could limit how many chests you can have in town, stop you from trashing them, and stop you from trashing them. That way you would rather have the good chests. Well, wait, is that even the problem? I don't know. Let's just see. Yeah, let's just see what happens. Because a lot of this is, I think, on the right track. And as we determine what the problems are, I think we can try to solve them. So how do we make sure valuable items are sold? Didn't I write this down? Yeah, here it was. Ideas, probably limit the number of uniques, and chests need to drop enough. Yep. Wait, that doesn't even address the question, does it? Oh, the selling in the way that you want. I guess it kind of does. I am a little concerned people are going to want a loot filter. Will people want a loot filter? They already kind of do. And this adds 2 new types of items, keys and chests. The keys have specific effects, and the chests have like loot tiers. So it stands to reason that, hang on a second. Yesterday, okay. Yesterday, the cat was on my lap, and I'm like, I felt something on my leg, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's her tail. And I looked down, and it's a spider. And I like took the spider off of me. But then I still kept feeling that sensation again. I'm like, are there just spiders crawling all over me? And I'm getting that same feeling now. And I don't know what it is. Is it actually something? Or am I imagining it because it happened to me just yesterday? The keys have specific effects, chests have loot tiers. So it stands to reason that people may want specific keys or chests, and to not have to micromanage this. All right, so what could we do here? We could come up with a way of having a loot filter that's like, here's a list of items to just trash immediately. Chests are kind of special because there's no shop for them. Hey, Manakis. There's no shop for chests. There's no shop for keys. You can't make new keys. Hopefully there's no problem there. I guess we'll just have to see how this stuff goes. Yeah. Just see how it goes. We'll have more information as we playtest this. And we have so much to do. How do we show where a quest item comes from? Should we reintroduce the vault? I think let's just say this is an idea. Say this as an idea and see how playtesters react. Do we need to modify the quick move menu? Keys have many destinations. It could just apply the worker logic and move one key to the best possible location. Maybe you shouldn't be able to click chests. Maybe your workers have to move them. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is tough. Moving treasure chests is something you yourself are more incentivized to do, given that workers do it slowly. However, we would need to add a 6th destination for chests, and then keys would also need to have some logic of which chest to choose. The other thing is, if we make this a little bit more user-friendly and we put the mimic stuff like right here, then you're only dragging from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen. It's not like you're moving the camera to do it. But by doing that, by putting it on the same screen, it means that also your characters don't have to walk very far to bring it up there. So this concept of like take up your workers' time doing stuff, it's all so co-located that it's hardly taking any time. It's still a task, but really well, I guess there are 2 tasks. There's move the chest to the mimic and then move the keys to the chest. Oh, I never talked about how do the chests open. What happens to the loot that comes out of the chest? I guess it could just go directly into the warehouse, like how it normally does. You have to battle the chest to get the loot. Yeah, I wanted there to be some transportation time here, but if there's transportation time, then we need a quick move menu for this. But it's not going to work how you think it works. Also, what time is it? 12:10. 12:10. Okay, so problem is that I wanted this new system to consume worker time a bit more. The only way it achieves that, since all you're moving is chests and keys, is if the distance that these items have to be moved is quite far. Maybe we just put the weapon grinder far from the mimic. He would just be mad about that though, right? They'd just be like, why'd you do that? You designed the game such that you made this harder for me. All right, well, let's just keep ideating and then figure out what's best. Maybe we put the whole mimic related building far from the warehouse. Maybe we introduce some other mechanic that makes the workers take time. Maybe the workers are there at the chests trying to open them, and that's what consumes their time. But if you can only have like 4 chests at a time, then you're only locking up 4 workers. We could make keys more numerous and have skeletons so that we require more trips. I don't know if this is another thing I should just chalk up to needing a play test. And yeah, maybe we just say it doesn't consume worker time as much. I guess the loot itself. Oh, I didn't think about that. What if the loot did just burst out onto the floor? Sort of like how it works from the portal. Like these items come out here. They actually don't really. They go into the warehouse first, and then if it can't fit, then they go out onto the ground. Because I was thinking, if if the loot did just burst out of the chest, one, I think it would look cool. It'd look like what's happening with the portal, which is nice. And then two, it would require your workers to pick it up, or else you'd lose some of that loot. And maybe we just give it a longer time before that happens, maybe like 40 seconds. Guess the whole point of your warehouse is to do this, though. I'm torn on this. If it dumped it all on the ground, then your workers would need to pick it up. I guess it would have to dump on the ground if your warehouse didn't have space. All right, I'm not sure what to do about this thing. I want the item transportation to be what causes the workers to be busy, because it's something then that you can always speed up. So the only way for item transportation to be what makes them busy, the only way to have that work is either to increase the distance or slow them down. And with treasure chests, it makes sense. Okay, they're heavy. Yeah, it slows down your workers. But it doesn't really make sense with keys. Why would they be slower while holding keys? And the treasure chests are done less frequently than the keys. So even if the treasure chest slowed them to a halt almost, and they're moving at like 10% their normal speed, they will get there eventually. It's not going to take them that long. I want item transportation to be the thing that slows that what's it mean to make someone busy? To occupy the worker's time. Well, item transportation to be the thing that occupies the worker's time. But if the distance is short and keys are the primary thing being moved and they don't have a weight to them, then we just need a ton of keys to be transported. I guess you're also transporting weapons. I hadn't thought about that. All you're moving is chests and keys. You're also moving weapons up there to get the keys. But then the keys, I guess, are co-located. So it's kind of identical to moving keys. Oh, it might be more obvious once we actually have some things in play. Maybe I should mock something up. Yeah, I'm picturing there's some new building like right up here in the back of the warehouse. And you bring weapons to a grinder and it grinds them into keys, which you then use on the treasure chests, which are also brought up there. So yeah, none of that would really consume your worker time. The worker would just bring a cane up there, it'd get a key out of it and move the key to the chest and it'd be done. Now, if we put all of that over here in the town, then they need to bring a weapon over to that. And yeah, that's what would form our transportation time. I think that's what we've got to do is just put this thing farther away from your warehouse. And people are probably going to complain in the feedback and be like, why don't you just put it up here? There's space. Be like, no, you don't understand. Can't do that. Can't make it too convenient for you. So when the whole town is filled out, here's what it would look like. Maybe. I think it makes the most sense to just to put the like the key grinder far away. That way workers have to transport weapons. They can move around town and get further or closer depending on how many chests you currently have. Originally, that was the idea. Have a mimic move around town and just spit items out on the ground. And then if you noticed it, you'd pick them up. And if you didn't notice it, hopefully your worker would get there fast enough. I mean, I guess we could change sort of how some of these mechanics work. Maybe the mimic, well, it wouldn't make sense to open the mimic a bunch of times. Say maybe the mimic is the thing that you're opening. Because yeah, I'm thinking, what if we just put this down here? Like in this area. So now workers would have to bring a cane all the way down there. They get a key, then they use the key while they're here. So it's basically just about transporting weapons there, and I guess also transporting treasure chests every once in a while. People haven't really asked why I've located everything where it is right now. They've never asked for that to be in a different spot. But yeah, I could see players wanting to move keys somewhere. I don't know. I think we put it up here. I think it's just easier, especially if players want to use that mini game idea. Players probably want to easily drag. Oh, well, the keys will be co-located no matter what. All right, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm still leaning toward this. And I just don't know how we're doing that. The key grinder could be in a separate location from the mimic. Maybe the mimic is basically in the warehouse and the grinder goes in the weapon shop. So they have to go to the weapon shop with a weapon and then bring the key back to the warehouse. So we're basically purposely making them take extra time. Although there is a nice thing, by doing that, we could put the thing that uses weapons right next to the weapon shop. So the potion item is this extractor. This has a lever on the side that says we can turn it off. This is pretty close to where the potions are used, which is over here. So if you want your potions to be used, then you can just toggle the lever. We could put that thing over here and have it make keys. We make a little stone area out back here, and it's your key grinder. I don't mind that. Hey, Crawl. Long time no see. Yeah, I think this could potentially work. The grinder being in the weapon shop may be the most palatable solution for this. That way, the lever for the extractor would be close to where weapons are naturally consumed. We could just make a stone panel out of the back of the shop. Or not panel, like a stone platform. It's not even what I mean to say. Clearing. The stone, whatever. And then use this space. And then when we eventually add in Monster Collection, which will probably be in a later patch, so not even before launch, Monster Collection could go down there. And then if we add mining or something, we could put that in the mountain somewhere. Put a path going up there to it. Yeah, yeah. And then a museum could go over here, maybe. Okay. Let's forever share my vision. So mining is over there. And then a museum can go like here-ish. Museum. And then the monster collection stuff can go down here. Monster bar. Why am I writing this out with my mouse? Ramy, thanks for the resub. Shirt's looking splendid. Something instant witty comment for my anniversary. That's very witty of you, Ramy. Thanks for the resub. Thanks for agreeing to play test. Gonna burn you out on Skeleseller one way or the other. All right, where do I even put this? In the design doc, I guess. Mock-ups. future area usage. Yeah. Not today, but I'll get to it. Oh, you can't get to it today anyway. The playtest hasn't been approved yet. I didn't know there was a build approval process. So I did all this work yesterday, and then I claimed my Steam key, and it worked for me. So I thought, oh, it'll work for everybody, right? But no, it worked for me because I'm the developer of the game. Developer according to Steam. Actually, maybe it would have worked for like even Ski, because I think Ski's got a Steam account that's linked to this too. Okay, so this is, I think, the best thing. Yeah. So what happens to the loot that comes out of the chest? I think we answered this. If it dumps it all on the ground, then your workers would need to pick it up. I guess it would have to dump on the ground if your warehouse didn't have space. But it'd be dumping all those items in the warehouse, basically. So it might be hard for you to pick them up. Not sure about that. We'll have to see. And then what's the total set of artwork we need? Oh, yeah. So do we need a quick move menu thing? Keys have many destinations. Moving treasure chests, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I kind of ended up answering a different thing, right? So, yeah, I think what we'll do is this. Weapons should... Or like the extractor option should work for weapons, but it would put the weapons in the weapon grinder. Also, we need a name for the weapon grinder at some point. I think weapon grinder is a good starting name, but is there something better? Like we have the extractor is the name of the potion thing. Do we call it the extractor? Potion extractor? I think we call it the extractor. Yeah, we just say the extractor. So I think weapon grinder is probably good. New positions being added to the IT org, and my team lead's going to apply for it. I think he has a good chance of getting it. If he does, that means the team lead position becomes open again, and I'll apply for it. Oh, cool. Yeah, that expedites the schedule by quite a lot. Also, I'm kind of surprised. Oh, wait, maybe your team lead is not your manager. I was going to say your manager is quitting in the next, short number of years. Oh, what am I doing? I should just do it this way. But yeah, good luck. I echo what Kevin says there. All right, so total artwork we need is like a mimic or mimic slime. It's icons for perks. Any... Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Maybe like another building, or it could just be a clearing. It could be part of your warehouse, kind of. Oh, we had a special building for this. I don't even think we need that. Any special building if we wanted it. Like an enclosure for the mimic and the chest. Lead, that's heavy. All right. So we have made some excellent progress. It is 12:30. I don't actually have a specific lunch plan, but I think taking a break is a good idea and just standing up. Yeah, so I should probably do that. But here's what the afternoon plan is. Consolidate tasks and figure out if there are any remaining questions. Just try to poke holes in what I've done. And then if there's time, start working on it, but I don't think there's going to be time. I also don't think it's the best thing to do today. But yeah, cost this. Can I get it done in July? Can we cut any corners? And is this sufficient for the launch? I think the set of ideas we've talked about today is great. And I think it's definitely going to help. I could see it being interesting for another like 2-3 hours in the game. I think it sets up, it builds on what we've already done. It connects to everything else pretty well. And at some point, if I don't already have it written down, already, I think the town hall should be upgraded after beating the Inferno, which should unlock a whole new tier of perks that you previously couldn't access. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm feeling good. Feeling really good. I'm gonna go take my lunch break. I will be back in about an hour. Maybe sooner than that. And then yeah, it'll be more design and sort of organizational work this afternoon. I don't think we're gonna get to coding. These days happen a decent amount where I just need to sit down and crank out some game design for like 20 hours. And thankfully this time around it only took like 10 hours. I mean, on stream today it's been 4, but I've spent some time before this thinking about it too. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you'll be back in the afternoon to watch me do more boring stuff. If not, have a good rest of your day. And I will see you later.